Chapter 632, Chapter 300, Tiananmen's Drastic Change. The speed of the Red Sun boat was extremely fast, and coupled with the star gates they navigated along the way, it didn't take long for them to return to the territory of the Three-Eyed Clan. Afterward, traversing the spatial passages of the Great Arrays time and again, they rapidly shuttled through space, and in about 10 days, they were back in the Tiananmen star system. Looking at the familiar constellations outside the window, Lu Yi, Liu Ningxuang, and several others all relaxed their expressions. "We're back," Jian Ruyu sighed. "Yes, who would have thought we'd be gone for 200 years, Yunzai also spoke. You see, their cultivation up to now had not even spanned 1,000 years. To have spent so much time away felt like they had been away from home for a very long time. I wonder how the White Cloud sect is doing, Donggong Mingyue said with a giggly smile. The other's eyes flickered with emotion, with Jian Ruyu worrying about Wenjian Manor and the Divine Sword sect, and Yunzai missing the 10,000 Flowers sect. The Ling Luo Peak Master was calm though. After all, even though she had spent quite some time in Tiananmen, her home was the Jade Star. At this moment, a voice arose from beside them. "Brother-in-law, this is your homeland. It looks like the immortal spirit Qi is quite sparse." Yu Yuanwu stood to the side, peering through the window at the stars outside. After entering the territory of the Three-Eyed Clan, Yu Lingluo had let Yu Yuanwu out and threatened him not to send any news back to the Yu family, or he would pay the price. Yu Yuanwu's head nodded quickly in agreement. Lu Yi replied with a light laugh. "Yes, Tiananmen had just become an immortal star back then. I'm aware of this. I heard it was your talent that attracted the rewards from the Tao. To be honest, I still find it hard to believe that someone as outstanding as you could come from Tiananmen," said Yu Yuanwu, his expression one of awe. Lu Yi merely smiled faintly. After all, strictly speaking, he was a transmigrator, though born and raised in Tiananmen. He was ultimately from another world. As the Red Sun boat cut through the starry sky and conversation filled its interior, it raced towards Tiananmen at a tremendous speed. Eastern Domain Qingzhou. The spiritual power tide that came with Lu Yi's breakthrough elevated Tiananmen into an immortal star, and the White Cloud sect received the most abundant spiritual energy of all, further enriched by the immortal trees and immortal grasses that Lu Yi planted on Ling Luo Peak. At this moment, the entire Qingzhou was the region with the densest spiritual energy on Tiananmen, and the White Cloud sect itself was enveloped in mist-like spiritual energy, brimming with immortal spirit Qi, presenting a scene befitting an immortal blessed land. With the change in the concentration of spiritual energy, the power dynamics throughout Tiananmen naturally underwent considerable shifts. A large number of immortal sect holy lands and great sects began migrating, moving their ancestral lands to the vicinity of Qingzhou. Even immortal sect holy lands from other domains were no exception. After all, the concentration of spiritual energy in Qingzhou was excessively high, surpassing the concentration at their original ancestral lands. The immortals who had returned to Tiananmen because of the spiritual tide naturally yearned for immortal spirit Qi, so they decided to migrate their entire immortal sect holy lands to Qingzhou and the surrounding states. The turbulence caused by such a massive migration of these colossal entities was imaginable. Facing these formidable immortal sect holy lands, small sects of the Eastern Domain could do nothing but yield their places. Such cultivation holy lands were simply not something the average small sect could possess. Even sects with Mahayana realm cultivators had no choice but to relocate further away. Great sects and immortal sect holy lands, vying for the few best areas, even fought fiercely, with immortals also taking to the starry skies for several clashes. The outcome of these confrontations was unknown to outsiders, but the Divine Sword sect and the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land, Thunder Sound Holy Land, and other immortal sect holy lands originally from the Eastern Domain successfully occupied several areas in Qingzhou. And the Emperor Sword sect, such a major great sect, also benefited from the influence of the Divine Sword sect, securing an area not far from their territory and close to Qingzhou. Though the entire cultivation world of Tiananmen was in unprecedented turmoil. However, the White Cloud sect in Qingzhou, as well as the 10,000 Flowers sect in Wenjian Manor, remained undisturbed. Even though the location held by the White Cloud sect was a true cave heaven-blessed land, coveted by all, including immortals. They all knew the figure standing behind the White Cloud sect. Lu Yi was the one who, with his own power, had transformed Tianming from a mortal star into an immortal star. Who would dare provoke such a demonic genius? Not to mention Lu Yi, there was also the Ling Luo Peak Master, the revered second young lady of the Yu family, too prestigious for anyone to harbor mischievous thoughts. Similarly, the 10,000 Flowers sect in Wenjian Manor, both being the sects of Lu Yi's Taoist couples, naturally were untouchable as well. However, not long after the Immortal sect Holy Lands had just seized their new territories, the 10,000 Flowers sect in Wenjian Manor announced they would move their sects closer to the White Cloud sect. The three sects declared a merger into one White Cloud Immortal sect. This move met with no opposition, naturally. Occupying such an immortal blessed land, and with the backing of a genius like Lu Yi, the White Cloud sect naturally possessed the qualifications to become an immortal sect, only lacking the accumulation of time and a bit of heritage. However, with Lu Yi's reputation, all geniuses and extraordinary talents from across Tianming flocked madly to the White Cloud Immortal sect. Coupled with uniquely favorable cultivation conditions, it wouldn't take long for the overall strength of the White Cloud sect to undergo a dramatic transformation. One day, a crimson light flew into Tianming from beyond it. All the immortals who were in seclusion within their ancestral lands immediately opened their eyes, looking towards the direction of the sky with expressions of surprise and uncertainty. All the immortals emerged from seclusion and rose into the sky to watch the direction of the crimson light. In the sky, Bu Yunjian and Wei Kang were present. Aside from them, there were several friends they had made outside, including the Divine Sword Sect's immortals, Long Yuan and some companions from the Heavenly Dragon Holy Land, as well as immortals from the Thunder Sound Holy Land, Heavenly Palace, and other major immortal sect Holy Lands present. Chapter 633-300, Tianming as Drastic Change 2. Chapter 633, Chapter 300, Tianming's Drastic Change /2. All eyes widened as they watched the crimson glow approaching Qingzhou, their gazes flickering with astonishment and suspicion. This spiritual pressure, what level of immortal artifact is it? Bu Yunjian said, his voice filled with shock. The others were equally astounded. Even though they were all heavenly immortals, and some even of true immortal level, they all felt a deep-seated fear stemming from their souls in the face of such spiritual pressure. A white-haired young man from the Heavenly Palace had a deeply solemn look in his eyes. It's definitely high-grade, possibly even top-grade immortal artifact. The immortals looked at each other. At that moment, Wei Kang, who was standing nearby, saw the increasingly close, familiar-shaped red sun boat. His eyes widened with delight. This heavenly boat, I know it, I've seen it before. Hearing this, everyone turned to look at Wei Kang. Wei Kang, you've seen it. Whose chariot is it? A blonde elder asked Wei Kang. Wei Kang excitedly said, it's young Master Lu Yi's. Young Master Lu Yi's red sun boat. I heard from young Master Lu Yi that it is a top-grade immortal artifact. Lu Yi. Lu Yi. The expressions of the immortals changed one after another, filled with curiosity, delight, and reverence. After all, the name Lu Yi was now legendary throughout Tianming. Even the immortals who had come from Tianming spoke of Lu Yi with different emotions. As the direct disciple of Second Lady of the Yu family, he single-handedly transformed Tianming into an immortal star, played a significant role during the Rashomon clan invasion, and demonstrated true immortal-level capabilities while in the Tribulation Crossing realm. Each of these feats seemed mythological. Yet all of this was achieved by one person. One could imagine the immense pressure such a character could exert on others. At this moment, many immortals who had returned from outside had not seen Lu Yi and felt somewhat uneasy. Yet immortals like Bu Yunjian and Wang Jianyuan, who were on good terms with Lu Yi, were genuinely delighted, smiling broadly. Ha, so it turns out that Lu Yi has come back. You scared me there, old man. Let's go and welcome him. Meanwhile, aboard the Red Sun boat, Lu Yi and his companions also sensed the presence of many immortals. Lu Yi looked in the direction of the distant auras. These auras, there must be nearly 100 immortals, right? When did so many immortals come to Tianming? He frowned slightly. Could they be here to cause trouble? The likes of Dango Mingyue also furrowed their brows. Yu Yuanwu thoughtfully said, if there's an unclaimed immortal star, it'd indeed attract some immortals. Ling Luo Peak Master glanced at Yu Yuanwu, lazily saying, no worries, I sensed a few familiar auras. They should be Tianming's immortals, probably because Tiananmen has transformed into an immortal star and those who left previously have returned. Lu Yi slightly arched his eyebrows and felt somewhat relieved. After all, his master was now of the profound immortal level, and her abilities in sensing spiritual power were even stronger than his, given that she cultivated immortal scriptures involving mental capacities. If she said so, it must be true. Soon as the Red Sun boat approached, Lu Yi also sensed the auras of Bu Yunjian and others, and completely relaxed. So it is them. Soon, the Red Sun boat neared the Immortals and came to a stop. Lu Yi and Ling Luo, Peak Master among others, disembarked from the Red Sun boat. Lu Yi waved his hand and stored the Red Sun boat within his body. Leading the group, Wang Jianyuan and Bu Yunjian, along with other Immortals, flew over. Greetings to Miss Yu. The crowd first greeted Yu Lingluo, then turned their attention to Lu Yi. Lu Yi, it has been a long time. I have missed you terribly, Bu Yunjian said with a smile. I must also thank you for intervening and saving Wei Kang from our divine sword sect. Otherwise, we would have lost an immortal, which would have been a devastating loss for us. After all, the divine sword sect wasn't a colossal entity like the Yu family, and the loss of a heavenly immortal could indeed cause them grievous harm. Lu Yi smiled. Mr. Bu, you are too polite. Elder Wei Kang is blessed with great fortune, otherwise he wouldn't have lasted until I rescued him. Wang Jianyuan smiled and said, Lu Yi, I heard that you made a big impact at the Zhenan battlefield. Indeed, you never stay idle wherever you are. The corners of Lu Yi's mouth twitched, and he was also exasperated. I didn't want to either. Who knew that just arriving at the Zhenan battlefield would lead to such a situation? Lu Yi's gaze swept over the nearby immortals, many of whom Lu Yi did not recognize, even during the time when the Rashomon clan invaded. On the side, Bu Yunjian introduced them to Lu Yi, who suddenly realized that indeed, they were all immortals from behind the scenes of the Tiananmen Immortal Sect Holy Land. Didn't all of you leave Tiananmen? Why have you come back? Wei Kang bitterly smiled and said, Young Master Lu Yi, you may not know it's tough out there too. Most of us are only heavenly immortals. In powerful immortal level forces, we are not appreciated much, and even in profound immortal level forces, although appreciated, the resources we can obtain are not abundant. Now that Tiananmen has transformed into an immortal star, the conditions here are not inferior to those outside, maybe even a bit better. Isn't it better to return to our sect than wander externally? Listening to this, Lu Yi had a sudden realization. These immortals were different from Lu Yi, for Lu Yi possessed star marrow and could still cultivate quickly even in bad environments. Whereas for ordinary immortals, who didn't have such cultivation resources as star marrow, the cultivation environment became very important. This was similar to young people from rural areas flocking to the cities for work during urbanization processes, and later returning to develop their townships as those places developed. Lu Yi, you haven't been back for so many years, perhaps you don't know, but Tiananmen has undergone significant changes. I'll tell you about it on the way, Wang Jianyuan said with a light laugh. Lu Yi was curious and nodded, all right. Thus, the group chatted as they flew towards the White Cloud sect. Upon hearing that the White Cloud sect had turned into the White Cloud Immortal sect, both Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang were a bit surprised. However, they also felt it was within reason. Being immortals, they were very fast, and in no time they approached the White Cloud mountain range. Lu Yi noticed that the White Cloud mountain range had undergone major changes. Nourished by spiritual energy, the White Cloud mountain range grew continuously, spreading for thousands of miles, majestic and beautiful, with spiritual energy transforming into clouds that drifted across the sky. In its most core area, even more so, it was surrounded by immortal spirit Qi, resembling an immortal secret realm. Is this our White Cloud sect? Dongong Yue gasped, somewhat incredulous. I didn't expect such big changes after not returning for 200 years. Liu Ningxuang also expressed some admiration. Gentlemen, the White Cloud Immortal sect is just over there. Thanks to the immortal realm left by Lu Yi, the White Cloud Immortal sect has seen many a talented and outstanding individual emerge, Bu Yunjian said enviously. The environment here is too good. In another few thousand or tens of thousands of years, the White Cloud sect might even see the emergence of new immortals. After all, the White Cloud sect was where Lu Yi was born and grew up. Seeing the White Cloud sect flourishing increasingly made Lu Yi genuinely happy. Let's go have a look. Just as they were flying towards the White Cloud sect, From the direction of the White Cloud sect, streams of light quickly flew out. All were at the unification realm. Lu Yi felt familiar auras and revealed a smile. These streams of light landed in front of the Immortals, with the sect leader of the White Cloud Immortal sect, Wu Qingfeng, clasping his hands and speaking neither servilely nor overbearingly. "Fellow elders, sorry for the lack of a distance greeting. May I know what brings you to our White Cloud Immortal sect?" Behind Wu Qingfeng were Elder Xuanming and Elder Qi Ling. Elder Ming had reached the pinnacle of unification and wasn't far from the Mahayana realm. In such a cultivation environment, even an ordinary person could swiftly enhance their cultivation base, let alone these talented elders. Although Wu Qingfeng was only at the pinnacle of unification, facing the Immortals, he wasn't panicking at all. It was truly because he had the backing of Lu Yi and Yu Lingluo. During this period, the changes in the White Cloud sect had Wu Qingfeng and Elder Xuanming, among others, excited and energized. Leading them, Wang Jianyun gave a slight smile. "Wu Qingfeng, take a look, who is this?" It was then that Wu Qingfeng and the others saw Lu Yi and his group, who were surrounded by the crowd. Suddenly, Wu Qingfeng and the others widened their eyes and showed extremely surprised expressions. "Year, junior sister Ling Luo, how did you both come back?" Chapter 634, 301. Chapter 634, 301. Seeing Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master, along with several others, Wu Qingfeng and Elder Xuanming, and others all showed surprised and delighted expressions, flying over to greet them. "Sect leader, honorable elders, it seems you are all doing well," Lu Yi said with a smile. Being able to remain calm and composed in front of so many Immortals was something Wu Qingfeng and the others definitely couldn't have achieved in the past. "Ha, it's all thanks to Year, otherwise how could we be enjoying such good days?" Elder Qi Ling laughed heartily, his face beaming with joy. "Yes, Year, the cultivation environment of our White Cloud Immortal sect is now the best in the entire Tiananmen. The disciples all have great talent and are making rapid progress, which naturally makes us happy too," Wu Qingfeng also said with a radiant smile. "That's great, let's talk more when we get back." Lu Yi and Wang Jianyuan had agreed to gather for a drink and discuss the Tao when time allowed. After bidding farewell to the group, they returned to the White Cloud Immortal sect. The White Cloud Immortal sect had undergone dramatic changes by this time. The area of the sect had expanded significantly, with pavilions and palaces spread over the mountain peaks within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. The grandeur of the outer sect surpassed what it had been when Lu Yi was in the outer sect. Lu Yi looked at the cultivators practicing in the outer sect and was somewhat surprised. Golden core cultivators in the outer sect. Yes, now with the White Cloud Immortal sect's cultivation environment being so favorable, as long as one's talent isn't too poor, anyone can cultivate to the golden core realm. If they were placed in the inner sect, there would be too many inner sect disciples, Wu Qingfeng said with a proud laugh. Now, most of the inner sect disciples of our White Cloud Immortal sect are at the nascent soul realm, and there are some geniuses who have reached the divinity transformation realm, and a few have even reached the cave void realm. Donggong Mingyue exclaimed, "They're much more formidable than we were back in the day." Even Liu Ningxuang, Jian Ruyu, and Yunzai nodded in agreement. Lu Yi also felt a sense of admiration. Even in his youth at the same realm, he did not have the cultivation environment and resources the current disciples of the White Cloud Immortal sect had. After all, the region of the inner sect now had an excessively dense spiritual energy, even containing immortal spirit qi. It was only natural to have a faster cultivation speed in such an environment. Soon they entered the inner sect. However, as they entered the inner sect's plaza, Lu Yi saw to his surprise that a giant statue of himself had been erected there. The statue stood with hands behind its back. It had captured a few good looks of his, reflecting an outstanding immortal talent. What made Lu Yi embarrassed was, why was there a statue of him in the plaza? Lu Yi's expression was a bit stiff. Not just Lu Yi, those next to him like Liu Ningxuang and the others were also baffled. The atmosphere became somewhat silent for a moment. Wu Qingfeng, standing beside them with a hint of pride, pointed at the statue and laughed. "Year, do you like it? Our White Cloud Immortal sect can be said to have been built by you. Without you, there would be no White Cloud Immortal sect as it is today, so I had someone carve your statue in the plaza. The response was very good. Many disciples come to admire your statue every day." Listening to Wu Qingfeng's words, Lu Yi became even more embarrassed. His mouth twitched slightly, a look of consternation across his face. It was you, sect leader, who had it carved. This thing is somewhat too embarrassing. What's embarrassing about it? If it weren't for you, where would the White Cloud Immortal sect be? It can be said that you are the immortal ancestor of our White Cloud Immortal sect. Shouldn't the disciples recognize you? Elder Ming also spoke up. The other elders from the older generation all nodded, feeling such a tribute was rightly due. Lu Yi looked at the disciples under the statue. They all had youthful faces, some even a bit childish, clearly of young age. But when these disciples looked at Lu Yi's statue, their eyes were filled with admiration and excitement. Lu Yi was silent for a while, then shook his head helplessly. All right then, let it stay here. Afterward, Lu Yi pondered for a moment. Then his body emitted strands of an extremely mysterious aura. Mysterious Tao patterns began to manifest around Lu Yi, surprising even the likes of the Ling Luo Peak Master and the others, while Wu Qingfeng and the others watched fascinated as Tao patterns surrounded Lu Yi. To weaker cultivators, these Tao patterns held an incomparable allure, enough to make them indulge in the way of the Tao. Lu Yi had control, but still couldn't completely prevent it. With a flick of his finger, streams of Tao runes infused into the statue, bestowing upon the statue a hint of weak Tao Yun. This was Lu Yi engraving Tao patterns into the interior of the statue. At this moment, the statue was akin to a treasure polished by the Tao, emanating Tao patterns, and could become a sacred cultivation site. If a cultivator watching the statue had no ill will, they could receive feedback from the aura of the Tao, which could enhance their various insights. As the Tao patterns faded, Wu Qingfeng and the others came back to their senses. They looked towards the statue, and although it appeared unchanged, they felt as if it had undergone a significant transformation. "Year, what did you do?" Wu Qingfeng asked. "Nothing much, just imparted some essence of the Tao onto the statue," Lu Yi said with a light smile. The others, Wu Qingfeng and his companions, looked at each other with astonished expressions. The heavenly Tao was already an insurmountable existence for mortal realm cultivators, and the Tao beyond the heavens was even more elusive. Lu Yi had actually left the essence of the Tao on the statue. What kind of technique was this? Merely at the unification realm, Wu Qingfeng and the others found it incomprehensible. Afterward, as they gazed upon the statue, they immediately sensed odd insights beginning to emerge in their minds. Chapter 635, 301 Tao Statue 2. Chapter 635-301 Tao Statue /2. This is. Their eyes shone brightly. I feel like I've made some progress in my understanding of the Mahayana realm. A breakthrough might not be far off, Elder Ming said excitedly. Wu Qingfeng and others nearby also had realizations. That was precisely why they were even more astonished. The Ling Luo Peak Master and the others had witnessed Lu Yi's state of enlightenment, and compared to that, this was merely child's play, so they were not too surprised. The disciples of the White Cloud Immortal sect below, upon seeing the aura of the Tao emerging, all looked up towards the sky. After seeing Lu Yi in the sky, they were all abuzz with immense excitement. These cultivators all had cultivation bases at the nascent soul, even divinity transformation realm. In the past, in the White Cloud sect, they could have been ancestors. Yet at this moment, each of them was very restrained, wanting to approach Lu Yi but not daring to do so. Lu Yi and the others left, and soon arrived at a low peak not far from Ling Luo Peak. Atop this low peak, there was only one courtyard. This is Gaiyang and Siki's residence. Because the White Cloud Immortal sect expanded so quickly, it's no longer suitable for them to live there, so we prepared a cave mansion here, asking them to move in. Junior sister, this place is not far from Ling Luo Peak. You don't mind, do you? As he spoke, Wu Qingfeng looked over at the Ling Luo Peak Master. Although the Ling Luo Peak Master was his junior sister, her status was not something he could compare with, and Wu Qingfeng felt somewhat nervous facing her. The Ling Luo Peak Master simply smiled. Of course, there's no problem. The group entered the courtyard, and soon, a man and a woman walked out from the cultivation room. Upon seeing Lu Yi, they paused for a moment, then both showed a look of surprise and joy. Wang Siki rushed over, hugged Lu Yi and tousled his hair. "You little rascal, why are you back? Weren't you at the Yu family?" Because of the information from Jiu, cultivators with weak cultivation bases had difficulties knowing, so when Lu Yi left, he only told Lu Gaiyang and Wang Siki that he was going to the Yu family. "Didn't I miss you guys? So I came back," Lu Yi chuckled and wriggled out of Wang Siki's embrace. Being this age and still hugged by his mother, Lu Yi felt a bit embarrassed. Lu Gaoyang nodded. It's good that you're back. These days, your mother has been talking about you. Before Lu Gaoyang finished, Wang Siki gave him a melancholic glance, and he suddenly fell silent. Wang Siki turned her head towards Liu Ningxuang and the others, her face showing a gentle smile. Ningxuang, you're back too, huh? Today I'm going to show off my cooking skills and make something delicious for you all. Miss Yu, sect leader Elder Ming, please stay and have a meal with us. The Ling Luo Peak Master slightly smiled. Mr. Wang, you can just call me Ling Luo Peak Master or Taoist Ling Luo. After all, this young man is my direct disciple. Calling me Miss Wang seems a bit too formal. Wang Siki blinked, then smiled and nodded. Certainly, Taoist Ling Luo. Then Wang Siki noticed Yu Yuanwu, who had been blending into the background. And this is... Yu Yuanwu felt moved inside, not expecting himself to still be remembered. From the moment Wu Qingfeng and the others saw Lu Yi and Taoist Ling Luo, they focused all their attention on them, completely ignoring Yu Yuanwu, who seemed invisible on the side. If this were anywhere else, Yu Yuanwu would have erupted by now. But since these were his sisters and brother-in-law's sect members, he held back his temper, staying quiet. Now that Wang Siki noticed him, he felt surprisingly touched. Moreover, the person in front of him was his brother-in-law's mother. Yu Yuanwu quickly said with some nervousness, "Aunt, I am your son-in-law's brother, Yu Yuanwu. It's a pleasure to meet you for the first time. These are some gifts for you." Yu Yuanwu took out a few immortal artifacts, as well as some immortal herbs and pills, their vibrant immortal spirit qi swirling around, drawing the attention of Wu Qingfeng and the others nearby. However, they were distracted by something even more crucial. Each of their expressions stiffened, staring blankly at Yu Yuanwu. "Wait, Yu Yuanwu, brother-in-law, are you a disciple of the Yu family? Your sister, could she be?" Lu Gaoyang's expression turned especially strange for a moment, sneaking a glance at Taoist Ling Luo next to Yu Yuanwu. At this moment, Taoist Ling Luo's expression had completely frozen, and she seemed petrified like a statue. Taoist Ling Luo greatly regretted that she hadn't been tough at the beginning. She should have never let this scourge out. She should have subdued him for a few hundred more years. Yu Yuanwu totally missed Taoist Ling Luo's expression, and with a carefree laugh he said, "Naturally, she's this one. Our ancestor and father from home have already said that she is to be matched with your brother-in-law." Lu Gaoyang, Wang Siki and Wu Qingfeng, among others, were somewhat numb at the moment. The Yu family ancestor and the father of the Ling Luo Peak Master personally spoke up, wanting to betroth the Ling Luo Peak Master to Lu Yi. They were similarly somewhat aware of the Yu family's situation due to Yu Lingluo's presence. That was a powerful family with an immortal venerable level existence at its core, commanding an entire star domain. The ancestor was naturally an immortal venerable. Even the immortal venerable wanted to betroth Miss Yu to Lu Yi. What on earth had this kid done outside? Lu Gaoyang and Wang Siki were both stunned, their expressions dumbfounded as they looked at Lu Yi. Wang Siki couldn't help but secretly send a voice message. "You little brat, is it true? The Yu family ancestor actually wants to betroth Taoist Ling Luo to you. What exactly have you done at the Yu family? This is Miss Yu we're talking about. Why would she be betrothed to you?" Lu Yi watched as Yu Lingluo, who had completely turned into a statue, looked even more baffled as he replied faintly, "Mom, Master's spiritual attainments are extremely high. Your cultivation base is like shouting in her ear when you send voice messages. There's no difference." Wang Siki suddenly felt awkward. It was like wanting to have a private chat about a sensitive topic, only to accidentally send the message in a group chat. Just then, the Ling Luo Peak Master calmly glanced at Yu Yuanwu, who completely failed to realize he had done anything wrong, and silently reached out to condense a world filled with endless flames of illusion, swallowing Yu Yuanwu whole. Lu Yi watched as the smile on Yu Yuanwu's face gradually faded away, replaced by horror, and then a heart-wrenching scream echoed out. The sound ceased only when the Ling Luo Peak Master retracted the illusory world. With a mild smile on her face, the Ling Luo Peak Master spoke, "Taoist Siki, don't listen to that kid's nonsense. Let's go in first. I'm really looking forward to the spirit food you've made." The atmosphere fell silent. All of a sudden, Wu Qingfeng gave a dry cough and spoke up. "Oh, right, Gaoyang Siki. I just remembered there's something I haven't dealt with yet. I'm afraid I can't stay for dinner today." Oh, I also just remembered, I have matters to attend to as well. I've recently taken a direct disciple who's been a bit worrisome. I'll be taking my leave first. Elder Xunaming, Elder Qi Ling, and others also said they had matters to attend to, running off faster than rabbits. Wang Siki and Lu Gaiyang were left staring agape. The silence lingered, and then Lu Gaiyang chuckled awkwardly. Ha ha ha, let's go inside, let's go inside. After dinner, the Ling Luo Peak master left and returned to Ling Luo Peak. As for Lu Yi and company, they stayed at home, planning to reside there for a few days. After all, for more than 200 years they had always been outside, without spending much time with the old man and mom. Lu Yi felt somewhat guilty in his heart. Although now, because of the cultivation resources he left behind, combined with such a high-quality cultivation environment here, both had broken through to the unification realm and weren't lacking in lifespan. Moreover, their cultivation base would only grow higher in the future, resulting in them spending even more time together. But still, whenever possible, he felt he should spend time with them. However, before long, during conversation, things became a bit awkward for Lu Yi and the others. Wang Siki glanced at the flat bellies of Liu Ningxuang and the other three, speaking earnestly. You've been together for so long, how come you don't have any children yet? Liu Ningxuang and the other three's faces turned red in an instant, freezing on the spot. Even Lu Yi felt embarrassed. Lu Yi cleared his throat and explained. It's because the higher the cultivation, the higher the tier of life, the harder it becomes to conceive. We are all heavenly immortals now. Tisk, Wang Siki clicked her tongue, then urged, then you must try harder, I want to hold a grandchild. Lu Gaiyang on the side was nodding continuously as well. Lu Yi could only nod repeatedly, agreeing. Afterward he fled with Liu Ningxuang and the other three. Chapter 636, 302, Preaching Tiananmen, Spreading the Doctrine to the World. Chapter 636-302, Preaching Tiananmen, Spreading the Doctrine to the World. The next day, Jiang Fan, Bai Yulong, and other sect friends from the White Cloud sect heard that Lu Yi had returned, and they came to visit him one by one. It was not only the close friends from within the White Cloud sect, but also friends from other sects like Han Yu who came over. Even the likes of Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, Tei Saint Sun, Thunder Sound Saintess, and other saint sons and saintesses from various immortal sect holy lands, who previously considered themselves followers of Lu Yi, also visited in succession. Among these cultivators, the saint sons and saintesses, such as the Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun, had the highest cultivation base, already reaching the Mahayana realm and not too far from undergoing their tribulation crossing. All of this, aside from the shift in the cultivation environments of those like Tiananmen, was also due to another important reason. The immortals backing the various immortal sect holy lands had all returned to Tiananmen, sparing no effort in nurturing the younger generation of their sects. Tei Saint Sun, Lin Jiyu, raising his glass of immortal wine, smiled at Lu Yi and said, Brother Lu, this cup is for you. If it weren't for our relationship, the immortal ancestor wouldn't have trained me wholeheartedly, and my cultivation base wouldn't have improved so quickly. It was not only Lin Jiyu, Lei Tianyan felt the same way. These gifted individuals who were on good terms with Lu Yi had all received vigorous training from their backing immortals, a fact that Lu Yi was naturally aware of. He was naturally pleased to see this. Although he had never acknowledged that Lin Jiyu and the others were his followers, their actions had always been in alignment with his stance, and Lu Yi was well aware of this. Subsequently, Lu Yi thought about the Jiyu battlefield. The Jiyu channels were not yet numerous in the sky-falling star domain, with only 7 Jiyu battlefields. However, these 7 Jiyu battlefields involved a significant part of the star domain's entire fighting strength. If a few more Jiyu battlefields were to appear, there might not be enough strong fighters to guard them. If that were the case, Jiyu might sooner or later invade the universe through the Jiyu channels. Lu Yi then thought about Tiananmen's Jiyu channels. Although the Jiyu channels were sealed, Lu Yi knew that as time passed, this sealing was not a long-term solution, and new Jiyu battlefields would definitely emerge in the future. As long as he completed the task and had enough resources, perhaps he should also advance the cultivation of people like Long Yashin and Lin Jiyu. In the future, perhaps, they would also become the core force against Jiyu. Brother Lu, what are you pondering? During the feast, Han Yu noticed Lu Yi deep in thought and asked with concern. Hearing this, everyone looked toward Lu Yi. Lu Yi's gaze swept over them. Looking at these childhood friends, he thought for a moment and then smiled slightly. I have some resources here that will be useful to you. With a wave of his hand, numerous jade bottles floated out, landing in front of them. Inside these jade bottles, an incredibly rich spiritual energy was being emitted, invigorating the spirits of the crowd of cultivators. The heavenly dragon Saint Sun opened a jade bottle and then widened his eyes, exclaiming, "This is 100,000-year-old spirit marrow. This one is 1,000,000 years old. Such a rich fragrance of elixirs. What is this? What kind of elixir is this?" Lin Jiyu, Lei Tianian, and others exclaimed in surprise. They looked at the floating elixirs and spirit marrow in front of them, their expressions incredulous. So many resources, even an entire immortal sect couldn't produce them. They hadn't expected Lu Yi to casually produce so many resources, enough to create several very powerful immortal sect holy lands. "Brother Lu, is this?" Feng Bumming looked at Lu Yi baffled. Lu Yi lightly laughed. "These are the fortuitous resources I acquired previously, which I don't need anymore. For you, however, they're just right. And the elixirs were refined by me while practicing the alchemy Tao during my spare time, perfectly suited for your cultivation. You are all my fellow Taoists, and I hope in the future you all can ascend to immortal." Upon hearing this, everyone present fell silent. All these individuals were top talents of Tiananmen, and now looking at each other, they were moved. Even the saint sons and saintesses of the immortal sect Holy Lands, who were wholeheartedly trained by their immortal ancestors, couldn't produce such resources as Lu Yi could. How could they not be moved? Not only were they moved, but they also felt proud. What was Lu Yi's status now? He was the legendary figure who single-handedly transformed the entire Tiananmen into an immortal star. Even all the immortals of Tiananmen held him in high regard. Such a figure genuinely caring for them, how could they not feel proud? Feng Bumming was the first to recover. Having been resurrected by Lu Yi using the all things revival skill, he had long considered his life as belonging to Lu Yi. He stood up, raising his glass to Lu Yi, earnestly saying, "Under Brother Lu's great favor, Feng Bumming will accept these treasures bestowed by Brother Lu. I only hope to be able to march through fire and water for Brother Lu in the future." Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun and others also snapped out of it. Listening to Feng Bumming speak, they felt somewhat displeased inside. Damn it, Feng Bumming's talent and strength weren't top tier among them, but damn, he was good at sucking up. Heavenly Dragon Saint Sun also stood up, laughing. "Brother Lu, I Long Yashin have never admired anyone from childhood until now. You are the first person I truly respect. Today I accept your gifts, and from now on whatever you say I will do." Lin Jiyu, Thunder Sound Saintess, and others also spoke up. Jiang Fan's cultivation base had now reached the peak of Cave Void, merely a step away from the unification realm. This rate of cultivation even surpassed that of Elder Ming and others, evidently having some fortunate encounters. Chapter 637-302, Preaching Tiananmen, Spreading the Doctrine to the World 2. Chapter 637-302, Preaching Tiananmen, Spreading the Doctrine to the World /2. His ordinary face also revealed a smile as he took the various resources in front of him and said, "Junior brother, since we are brothers, I won't stand on ceremony. As long as I am here, you can talk to me about anything." Seeing them put away these resources, Lu Yi smiled and said, "Everyone keep on cultivating well. I hope you can make a breakthrough soon." Lu Yi didn't know when Tiananmen's GU battlefield would appear. If there were not enough powerful cultivators to guard it, he would definitely not allow the GU battlefield to spread. He hoped Jiang Fan and the others could be of help. Liu Ningxuang and the three others by her side watched Lu Yi's actions without speaking a word. They exchanged looks and just smiled. That was Lu Yi's nature, to never let down those who were good to him. It was also why the four of them liked Lu Yi so much. The group continued to drink and chat, clinking cups and enjoying a lively atmosphere. After the third round of drinks, Donggong Mingyue said with a giggly voice, "Senior brother, since you are going to cultivate Jiang Fan and the others, why not give them a lecture? It would be immensely beneficial to them." Hearing this, Lu Yi was stunned for a moment, then his eyes lit up. Yes, giving a lecture, his greatest advantage lay in his understanding of the Tao, his insight into chaos. His insight into chaos was profound, despite the fact that even Lu Yi himself was still somewhat weak in it. Having absorbed several Tao treasures and experienced enlightenment twice, his understanding of the Tao could be said to surpass even that of an immortal venerable. Otherwise, the Yu family ancestor wouldn't have been so shocked by Lu Yi's Tao presence. If he were to give lectures to everyone, it would greatly benefit them in terms of foundation and understanding. No, perhaps he could do more than just lecture them. There were so many cultivators in Tiananmen, he might lecture the entire Tiananmen. Lu Yi came back to his senses, smiled slightly and said, "Junior sister is right. I can give a lecture to everyone." Hearing this, the others' eyes lit up, revealing joyful smiles as they looked at Lu Yi with anticipation. They all knew how extraordinary Lu Yi's talents were. A lecture from Lu Yi would definitely be a tremendous opportunity for them. But then Lu Yi said with a smile, "However, I am planning to lecture the entire Tiananmen." Hearing this, everyone was stunned, and the atmosphere fell silent. They all held their breath, their eyes widening in shock as they looked at Lu Yi. "Junior brother, you want to lecture the entire Tiananmen?" Even Liu Ningxuan was taken aback and exclaimed. Lu Yi nodded, chuckled lightly and said, "Not only the human clan, but also the demons, the Sea clan, the all clans. As long as they are Tiananmen cultivators, they can all listen to my lecture." Everybody looked at each other, their hearts filled with astonishment as they watched Lu Yi, their eyes flashing with various figures. Lin Jiyu stood up and bowed deeply to Lu Yi. "Brother Lu is impartial in his teachings and cares for the world. Willing to lecture Tiananmen is a blessing for all clans of Tiananmen. Brother Lu's heart embraces all living beings. It is a blessing for all clans." Yes. One by one, the cultivators' emotions surged as they spoke sincerely. After all, for cultivators, Taoist skills should not be passed on lightly, yet Lu Yi was willing to lecture the entire Tiananmen. This was almost unimaginable. With Lu Yi's status, being willing to make such a grand gesture meant that as soon as the news spread, it would create a sensation across the entire Tiananmen. No one would not be astounded. Lu Yi himself had just thought of this idea, and he mused internally, "I will lecture Tiananmen and spread the teachings to the world." Task: lecture Tiananmen, disseminate teachings to the world. Reward: increase Tao understanding. Select Immortal skill level +5/2. Select Cultivation technique level +5/2. Select Law +20%/*2. Accept the task, yes, no. Seeing the reward for the task, Lu Yi smiled slightly and accepted the task. Then he said, "If that's the case, why choose a day to start when today is just as good? Let's start today." Today. The crowd was stunned. Afterward, everyone saw Lu Yi soar into the sky, transforming into a streak of light that rushed toward the heavens. The next moment, Tao patterns began to surface around Lu Yi's body, enshrouded in an enveloping and mysterious Tao light, almost as if a deity had descended among them. Lu Yi took a deep breath, his eyes flashing with infinite mysterious patterns and immortal spirit qi surging as the grand Tao sound spread out. "I, Lu Yi, hereby announce my teachings to Tiananmen today. Whether from the human clan, the demon clan, the Sea clan, or any other races, all cultivators are welcome to listen to the Tao." Lu Yi's cultivation base had reached the third level of heavenly immortal, and due to his exceedingly profound foundation, each minor advancement in his realm meant an immense enhancement for him. His immortal spirit qi vibrated, transmitting his voice throughout the entire Tiananmen. No matter if it was the 5 domains or the deep sea, all cultivators, from immortals down to those in qi cultivation, all looked up towards the direction of the sky. Many cultivators' eyes flickered with disbelief. "This voice, it has spread throughout the entire Tiananmen. How is it possible? Is this the voice of that legendary Lu Yi? He is just a heavenly immortal, how can he be so terrifying?" The Sea clan's immortals were equally astounded. The immortals within the Xianxia dragon python were staring wide-eyed, incredulously looking above the sea, speechless. The immortal standing beside them was also dumbstruck, recovering from the shock. He said, "Such Tao Yun contained within the Tao sound, it's unbelievable. With such cultivation, such strength, he is actually going to teach the world." The 3 immortals inhabiting Xianxia dragon pythons looked at each other before the true immortal-level Xianxia dragon python immediately said, "Let's go, let's take a look." Not only the Xianxia dragon python clan, but also the monarchs among the Sea clan's immortals began to break through the sea, flying toward the direction of Qingzhou. Within the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, Wang Jianyuan and the Sword Taoists were engaged in a duel, and they too were dumbfounded as they looked towards Qingzhou. After a moment of silence, the sword Taoist murmured, "Such Tao Yun contained within the Tao sound, the youngster from back then, has become so extraordinary." Wang Jianyuan's feelings were complex, recalling the first time he met Lu Yi when he had just awakened. Lu Yi was still so weak then. It had only been a few hundred years, yet he might have surpassed him already. Yes, the young one has grown up. The two exchanged glances, then both smiled. Ha, let's go and have a look. Right, this is a rare opportunity. The old Taoist cannot miss it. Amidst laughter, they flew towards Qingzhou. Divine Sword Sect. Bu Yunjian, Wei Kang, and others were also looking in the direction of Qingzhou. Lu Yi, is he truly going to share his teachings with the world? What a grand display of spirit. Let's go. This represents a great opportunity for us as well. Let's take a look. Tei Holy Land, Thunder Sound Holy Land, Heavenly Dragon Holy Land. And so on, within the ancestral lands of each immortal sect Holy Land, where the immortal ancestors usually practice cultivation in solitude, turned into streaks of light, heading towards Qingzhou. As for the other cultivators throughout Tiananmen, naturally, they could not rush there. The distance was too great for ordinary cultivators. However, since the Tao sound could reach them, they would certainly not miss this excellent opportunity. Cultivators were overwhelmed with surprise. Is that the voice of the esteemed Senior Lu Ye? Yes, that's his voice. I saw him back at the Divine Sword Sect Sword Tao Conference. I still remember his voice to this day. There's absolutely no mistake. Senior Lu Ye is willing to teach the entire Tiananmen. Such a great kindness. Yes, Senior Lu Ye not only elevated our Tiananmen to an immortal star, but is now willing to share his teachings with the world. We owe so much to Senior Lu Ye. One after another, the cultivators were overwhelmed with emotion. They then sat up straight as arrows and began to prepare to listen. Lu Ye's voice, naturally, alarmed all the cultivators at White Cloud Immortal Sect as well. Even Ling Luo Peak Master, who had returned to Ling Luo Peak, was drawn out by the commotion. She approached Lu Yi, looking at the Tao light that enveloped him, appearing as if he were a naturally born child of the Tao. Her mind was briefly adrift, a flash of brilliance flickering through her eyes. However, Ling Luo Peak Master soon snapped back to reality, roaring madly within her heart. You Ling Luo, what in the world are you doing? How could you be standing there looking at your own disciple in such a daze? Have you lost your sanity? Coming back to her senses, Ling Luo Peak Master asked Lu Yi, Brat, what are you up to? Lu Yi smiled slightly. Tiananmen has a Jiyu channel and the Jiyu battlefield might appear. If I spread my teachings, the strength of Tiananmen's cultivators will improve, and when the time comes, they may better withstand the Jiyu demons. Ling Luo Peak Master was taken aback and then gazed deeply at Lu Yi. Her smile softened. If that's the case, then go ahead. No matter what, your master will always support you. Lu Yi smiled, thank you, master. Chapter 638-303, Heavenly Immortal 5th Layer, Fate Technique. Chapter 638-303, Heavenly Immortal 5th Layer, Fate Technique. The Ling Luo Peak Master floated back to the White Cloud Immortal Sect and along the way, released Yu Yuanwu. Although Yu Yuanwu had greatly annoyed the Ling Luo Peak Master, he was, after all, her own brother, and Lu Yi's comprehension of the Tao even surpassed that of the Yu family ancestor. Lu Yi's sermon on the Tao was also an invaluable opportunity for Yu Yuanwu. Such an opportunity was naturally something the Ling Luo Peak Master did not want Yu Yuanwu to miss. Upon exiting the illusionary world, Yu Yuanwu was charred all over, looking as though he had been excavated from a pile of coal. He looked at the Ling Luo Peak Master with fear written all over his face. Sis, dear sister, I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again next time. The Ling Luo Peak Master snorted lightly. Get ready to comprehend the Tao. Comprehend the Tao? Where is there a Tao for one to comprehend? Yu Yuanwu was completely baffled. Lu Yi is going to preach to Tiananmen. Just a few words left Yu Yuanwu frozen in his tracks. Only then did he sense the Tao Yun in the sky, lifting his head abruptly to look upwards, and there he saw Lu Yi amidst the heavens. His eyes widened as he muttered to himself, preaching to Tiananmen, such grandeur truly befitting of my brother-in-law. The Ling Luo Peak Master, standing beside him, glanced at Yu Yuanwu, and seeing that he had not reacted, rubbed her forehead and did not take him back with her. Lu Yi's Tao sound spread throughout Tiananmen, giving numerous cultivators a bit of time to prepare. During this time, Immortals from all over rapidly made their way to Xianxia. Among them were those familiar to Lu Yi, such as Wang Jianyuan and others, as well as other cultivators whom Lu Yi had not met before, including immortals from the Demon Clan, the Sea Clan, and so on. After all the immortals arrived in Xianxia and felt the rich Tao Yun emanating from Lu Yi, they were all visibly moved. They each saluted Lu Yi with clasped hands. The grace of preaching the Tao is to be received with the respect due to a teacher. Afterward, the immortals clearly divided themselves. No one entered the territory of the White Cloud Immortal sect, but instead found spots nearby to sit down with friends or familiar cultivators, cross-legged, waiting for Lu Yi to begin his sermon. A few hours later, Lu Yi felt that the time was about right. He slowly opened his eyes, within which were infinite Tao patterns and the aura of endless chaos energy, seeming to contain limitless possibilities. He began speaking calmly. The sermon begins. As the cultivators who were building up their energy heard Lu Yi's words, they were all visibly shaken, each opening their eyes and gazing at Lu Yi with nervous anticipation. Then Lu Yi began to preach. What Lu Yi spoke of was neither a particular law nor a kind of power, but his own comprehension of the Tao, his understanding of the Tao itself. This fundamental understanding is truthfully the most precious of all. As Lu Yi began his sermon, Tao patterns in the sky flickered uncertainly, and various anomalies emerged. Some Tao patterns coalesced into a resounding bell and drum, emitting sounds that vibrated the soul. Others converged into endless green lotuses, with each petal bearing unimaginable mysteries. Even each strand of Tao light seemed to hold stirring secrets. Endless Tao light emerged from the void and spread rapidly, gradually enveloping the whole of Tiananmen. By the coast of the eastern domain, Grandma Yuanling had been guarding the Jihu abyss for hundreds of years. At this moment, she was also sitting cross-legged, comprehending the profound Tao Yun. The space around her twisted, and the illusory world changed incessantly. Having been at the profound immortal level for a long time, she had not been able to find the path to the golden immortal level. Without even discovering the path, breaking through the barriers was even more out of the question. But now she had found that path. This meant she still had hope of becoming a powerful being of the golden immortal level. Just then, within the radiance-covered great array, in the midst of the Jiu channel, thick, dark fog surged, violently colliding against the radiant great array, causing it to shake continuously. Low roars pierced through the great array and spread out. Grandma Yuanling opened her eyes and looked towards the swirling Jiu Qi within the array, revealing a cold smile. Feeling the Taoist energy from young Master Lu Yi and can't sit still anymore. Scram back to where you came from. She appeared atop the great array, with immortal spirit Qi gushing out, pouring into the array. The golden light shone brilliantly, like an endless golden ocean clashing against the Jiu Qi. Before long, the golden ocean ground the Jiu Qi to nothing, and the disturbances from the Jiu channel subsided. Grandma Yuanling sat cross-legged above the great array, suppressing it with her presence while continuing to comprehend Lu Yi's Tao. If she missed such an opportunity, she feared she would never have another chance to reach the golden immortal level. In the depths of the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, within the seal of the powerful heavenly demon, the heavenly demon too sensed the immensely rich Taoist energy, looked up and roared furiously, with gray mist swirling and enveloping the depths of the mountain range. However, the array was extremely powerful, and the heavenly demon could not break free from the seal. Whether within the White Cloud Immortal sect, in Xianxia, or in other regions of Tiananmen, at that moment, all cultivators had immersed themselves in comprehension. And so time passed by. Lu Yi's sermon lasted half a month, and when the Tao light around him slowly dissipated, many talented disciples within the White Cloud Immortal sect made breakthroughs on the spot. And the Ling Luo Peak Master, Yu Yuanwu, Liu Ningxuang, and others also opened their eyes one by one. After exchanging glances without a word, they turned into streaks of light and returned to their respective cave mansions to begin their seclusion. For them, Lu Yi's sermon was a tremendous opportunity, and they all had a wealth of insights that they urgently needed to assimilate in seclusion. The other immortals, too, opened their eyes one after another. They showed exhilarated and joyous expressions, obviously having made immense gains. Rising to their feet, they clasped their fists towards Lu Yi in the sky, their faces filled with respect. Chapter 639-303, Heavenly Immortal 5th Layer, Fate Technique 2. Chapter 639-303, Heavenly Immortal 5th Layer, Fate Technique /2. Many thanks to Taoist Lu for imparting your teachings. The grace of Taoist Lu in passing on his teachings, I shall engrave it in my heart, surely to repay in the future. One after another, immortals expressed their stance. Lu Yi floated in midair and waved his hand slightly. Opportunities are rare. Go back and enter secluded cultivation. Many immortals, upon hearing Lu Yi's words, also nodded and turned into streaks of light, disappearing from sight. Lu Yi himself also seemed contemplative, transforming into a streak of light and vanishing within the cultivation room. In the process of imparting teachings, it was also a way for Lu Yi to organize his understanding of the Tao. This was immensely beneficial for Lu Yi himself. Although Lu Yi's understanding of the Tao hadn't deepened, his awareness of the Tao had become much clearer. Of course, this didn't include the rewards from the task. Including the task rewards, Lu Yi's teaching this time had certainly been very fruitful. He seized the momentum and immediately used the Tao understanding enhancement from the task rewards. Suddenly, a vast amount of insights about the Tao merged into Lu Yi's mind, continuously elevating his understanding of the Tao. With the enhancement of this fundamental force from the Tao, feedback appeared in the various laws that Lu Yi mastered, revealing significant improvements in each. This understanding lasted 10 days, and when it faded, Lu Yi finally showed a smile. The harvest was not small. He then looked at the other rewards, upgrades designated for immortal skill level, cultivation technique level, and specific laws. This would further strengthen Lu Yi's foundation. Upon leaving the Yu family, Lu Yi had learned many immortal scriptures, which were perfect for insights and thus utilized for further understanding. Thus, Lu Yi once again immersed himself in understanding. In the subsequent time, as there were no disturbances, Lu Yi's life became very peaceful. Every day was spent on understanding immortal techniques, immortal scriptures and laws, with spare time devoted to practicing alchemy Tao, array Tao, and the path of artifact refining, among others. Dual cultivation was, of course, not neglected. Lu Yi's Tao Yin, Yang Immortal Scriptures Heavenly Immortal chapter had reached its limit, yielding quite effective results in cultivation. Moreover, without the weak cultivation environment, and with the star marrow in Lu Yi's possession, his cultivation base steadily ascended. Every 30 years, Lu Yi would conduct a teaching session. When Lu Yi announced the second session, all of Tiananmen's cultivators nearly went mad. Weak cultivators during one session had many directly advancing their realm, even breaking through the bottlenecks of a great realm. Some even mastered conception, or even domain, rising abruptly as dark horses. Masses of cultivators made huge progress during Lu Yi's teachings. These cultivators weren't naturally grateful to Lu Yi. Hearing that Lu Yi was going to teach again, who could not be happy? One after another, the cultivators almost jumped up. As for the immortals, they were numb. The insights from the last teaching had not yet been fully comprehended, and here came the second teaching. Is this guy even human? However, complaints aside, they were still thrilled and once again rushed to Qingzhou. After all, corroborating their own insights amid the Tao understanding was enough to make them advance faster. During the teaching, Lu Yi naturally reaped immense benefits as well, making everyone very joyful. In the blink of an eye, 100 years had passed. Lu Yi's cultivation base had broken through to the heavenly, immortal 5th layer. Because of his lectures and personal understanding, he had delved into various laws, most of which he had some knowledge of. Lu Yi also learned the fate technique from his master. This was also a golden immortal skill. Cultivated to its limit, it allowed one to see through a person's future destiny when looking at them. One could imagine how powerful this immortal skill was. Although his master said that only the Yu family's direct lineage could cultivate this immortal skill, when Lu Yi wanted to learn it, she did not hesitate at all and taught it to Lu Yi directly. She even said that even if the Yu family ancestor knew, he would not blame her. Moreover, Lu Yi knew that this immortal skill was accidentally obtained by the deceased Yu family ancestor from a cosmic forbidden zone. Cosmic forbidden zone, Lu Yi was somewhat surprised. Honestly, Lu Yi's knowledge of the universe was not very deep. The only thing he knew was that their star domain was the sky-falling star domain. The Yu family was the most powerful force, and right next to the sky-falling star domain was the Rashomon star domain of the Rashomon clan, whose friction with Lu Yi was something he had personally experienced. As for other places, Lu Yi had no clue whatsoever. Yes, cosmic forbidden zone. The universe is vast and endless. Even though our Yu family ancestor was highly cultivated and had become an immortal venerable, he traveled a lot, but he never fully grasped the entirety of the universe. Some areas, even for characters of immortal venerable level, are places they have to avoid, or they too would face fatal threats. Upon hearing this, Lu Yi instinctively thought of black holes. Lu Yi was curious if an immortal venerable would be in danger upon encountering a black hole. With his current strength, if he spotted a black hole from afar, it wouldn't matter much. But if he got too close, he feared he would be directly torn apart by the terrifying gravitational pull of the black hole, with even his primordial spirit likely unable to escape. Lu Yi thoughtfully said, "So the cosmic forbidden land is one of those kinds." Ling Luo Peak Master smiled and nodded. Yes, there seem to be many such forbidden zones in the universe. Our Yu family ancestor believed they might be remnants left by immortal kings and immortal emperors from their era. Of course, some are naturally formed by the universe, and there are others that even the ancestor could not understand why they exist. Lu Yi thoughtfully asked, "So, the fate technique was retrieved by the ancestor from that cosmic forbidden zone?" Besides the Rashomon star domain next to our sky-falling star domain, there is another star domain called Crystal Spirit, inhabited by a race known as the Crystal Spirit Clan. These beings are naturally powerful with extremely high cultivation talents. Although the numbers of the Crystal Spirit Clan are few, their strength might even be a bit stronger than the Yu family's. And this cosmic forbidden zone is located on the border between the sky-falling star domain and the Crystal Spirit star domain, known as the Abyss Ruins. Abyss Ruins. Yes, it's said to be a strange, profoundly dark abyss where even time seems to slow down. From the exterior, there are a massive number of ruins, even comparable to a huge star system. As for what lies deeper, no one knows because nobody has ever entered the depths, said the Ling Luo Peak Master. When the ancestor was once pursued by enemies and forced into the Abyss Ruins, even just being on the outskirts was a life-and-death situation. However, the ancestor was incredibly lucky and managed to make it out alive, obtaining a rare golden immortal skill related to fate. Listening to the words of the Ling Luo Peak Master, Lu Yi was even more shocked. Even an immortal venerable level character faced life and death on the periphery. What dangers exactly exist inside? The Ling Luo Peak Master shook his head. After the ancestor came out of the Abyss Ruins, he only lived another 3 million years, far from reaching the end of his lifespan. When he died, some strange runes appeared on his body. When the later generations of the Yu family wanted to study what those runes were, the body of that ancestor disappeared without a trace. Lu Yi, dumbfounded, exclaimed, "The body disappeared without a trace, in the Yu family." Lu Yi was completely baffled. What place was the Yu family? It was the most powerful place in the sky-falling star domain. Who could take away the dead body of an immortal venerable ancestor from the Yu family? Lu Yi could hardly imagine. It was not only Lu Yi who was baffled. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master had an incredulous expression, and he shook his head with a bitter smile. "I do not know either. I only saw this legend in our Yu family's archives. How exactly it was, after billions of years, who could know?" Lu Yi nodded slightly, thoughtfully. The Black Abyss Ruins. If he were stronger, perhaps he could go in and see for himself. With something like the fate technique there, who knows what else might exist? Lu Yi was very much looking forward to it. Moreover, looking at the situation, secrets about why the immortal kings and immortal emperors disappeared may be hidden within those cosmic forbidden zones. Lu Yi did not know whether, once he broke through to immortal venerable level, he might really advance to immortal king. After all, it had been so long since an immortal king had emerged in the universe. Lu Yi slightly shook his head, almost speechlessly. What was he thinking? He was merely a heavenly immortal now, yet he was already considering the matters of an immortal king. Dreaming during the day. The good news was, however, that learning the fate technique had brought him tremendous gains, as he mastered the destiny law. Chapter 640-304, Heavenly Immortal Peak, Chaos Divine Crystal. Chapter 640-304, Heavenly Immortal Peak, Chaos Divine Crystal. As a golden immortal level immortal technique, the Fate skill contained an extremely powerful power of destiny. After mastering the Fate skill to its limit, Lu Yi had even used the reward for raising the level of the law to increase the destiny law to 70% as well. With 70% of the destiny law, Lu Yi could see the lines of destiny that sketched themselves across the world as long as he used the full power of the destiny law. These lines of destiny were the causal connections between things. This also made Lu Yi understand what the saying about fate being predestined referred to. It was about the connections on these lines of fate. And if Lu Yi looked closely at a cultivator with all his might, he could even see that cultivator's fate for a period of time in the future. Of course, the final effect was related to the cultivator himself, as well as to Lu Yi. No matter what power it was, no matter how strong it was, the self was always the most important. Lu Yi had tried to examine his own fate and found that even with all his might, he could only see a fog. With his current strength, he was completely unable to see his own fate clearly. When he looked into the fate of others, he found that, for people like his parents, Liu Ningxuang and his master, who were very close to him, he could see their futures for a very short period, with his own old man and mother being able to see their fate for about half a year in the future. This was mainly because their strength was relatively weak. They were only at the unification realm so far. As for the four people, including Liu Ningxuang, they all had a heavenly immortal level cultivation base, and even with all Lu Yi's might, he could only see their fate for 2 or 3 days. As for his master, it was just like when he looked at his own family, everything ahead was shrouded in fog. Back when Lu Yi had first entered Ling Luo Peak, his master had said he had seen his fate, probably because back then, his roots weren't deep enough. Now, Lu Yi's foundation was entirely forged by Tao treasures and Chaos treasures, such a terrifying foundation that not even an extremely powerful destiny law could penetrate even a bit. As for people who weren't that closely related to Lu Yi but still carried a significant connection, like Master Wu Qingfeng and Elder Ming, Lu Yi could see much more of their future. Lu Yi could even see their fates for the next 50 years. Well, Master Wu Qingfeng's next 50 years didn't seem to differ from the present, toiling like a dog for the White Cloud Immortal sect. Elder Ming, on the other hand, would break through to the Mahayana realm in the next 50 years, becoming the strongest combat force of the White Cloud Immortal sect, aside from Lu Yi and a few others. A cause for celebration indeed. As for disciples of the White Cloud Immortal sect who hardly had any relation to Lu Yi, he could almost see through their entire lives with a single glance. Lu Yi took a trip around the sect and found that the future for most disciples was to break through to the nascent soul realm, and for the stronger ones, to break through to cave void or unification realm. Then they would die of old age. Lu Yi felt a bit regretful that, even with the best circumstances, talent still decisively determined a cultivator's limit. Even immortals couldn't escape birth, aging, sickness, and death, let alone mortals. True immortality was something not even the immortal venerables could reach. At the very least, it would have to be an immortal king, or maybe even an immortal emperor. Lu Yi discovered that the destiny law was also not insignificant in battle. Facing an opponent, he could foresee and see through his future attacks, making it almost like cheating against an opponent of similar strength, virtually unsolvable. The only trouble was that because the destiny law was too powerful, its full force use was not small, and even Lu Yi couldn't sustain it for very long. Afterward, Lu Yi continued to cultivate quietly. He maintained a rhythm of lecturing every few decades to 100 years, sorting out his own insights on the one hand and completing tasks on the other. The rest of the time was spent cultivating various laws and cultivation techniques. Just 500 years later, Lu Yi broke through to the peak of heavenly immortal. The immortal realm was different from the mortal realm. The heavenly Tao is incomplete. Its limit can be broken to reach the 11th layer, 12th layer, 13th layer. But the Tao signifies the operational rules of the entire universe, and the peak of heavenly immortal is already the limit, unable to break through any higher. This also meant that Lu Yi could break through to true immortal level. From the time of his ascension until now, not even 1,000 years had passed, yet he had completed the entire accumulation of the heavenly immortal realm. This rate was unbelievable even throughout the entire sky falling star domain. Keep in mind, Yu Yuanwu, who originally had a higher cultivation than Lu Yi, had only broken through to true immortal realm 100 years ago after Lu Yi's continuous preaching. Even so, Yu Yuanwu was excited for a long time, since this was much faster than he initially expected. And Lu Yi, In just 1,000 years, he was about to complete the transition from heavenly immortal to true immortal. The foundation built in the mortal realm thoroughly erupted upon reaching the immortal realm. When the breakthrough came, Lu Yi of course did not forget to issue a task. Task: Breakthrough to true immortal. Reward: Chaos Divine Crystal ***10. Accept the task, yes, no. Does that even need to be said? Of course, accept the task. Lu Yi's eyes sparkled as he saw the name Chaos Divine Crystal, obviously a treasure related to chaos and also a chaos treasure. Lu Yi had thought that, without the tasks of breaking limits, he would no longer be able to get such chaos treasure rewards, but unexpectedly they could be obtained just by breaking through. His heart suddenly settled down. Afterward, Lu Yi began his seclusion for the breakthrough. In the heavenly immortal realm, one transforms from a mortal to an immortal body, beginning to condense immortal spirit qi and comprehend immortal Tao rules. And to break through to the true immortal realm, you need to merge the immortal spirit qi with the immortal Tao rules and condense a lost seed based on one's own comprehension. Chapter 641, 304 Heavenly Immortal Peak, Chaos Divine Crystal 2. Chapter 640, 1-304 Heavenly Immortal Peak, Chaos Divine Crystal *2. This seed will be the seed of the inner world of the cultivators in the immortal realm, also known as the world seed. Lu Yi heard from the Yu family ancestor about the cultivation in the immortal realm, which involves continuously comprehending laws, absorbing immortal spirit qi, and condensing one's own law-based world seed, eventually creating a small world based on the laws one has comprehended. The small world merges with the immortal body, transforming into the inner world, and then, by inscribing laws within the inner world, one thoroughly forges it into a unique immortal domain. Upon reaching the immortal venerable realm, the inner world reaches its zenith, and the comprehension of laws has also achieved perfection, with the law patterns fully inscribed within one's own inner world, stabilizing the immortal domain. This means that every immortal venerable has their own complete world of law. As for above the immortal venerable, the Yu family ancestor once read in ancient texts that one needs to comprehend and merge the inner world with the Tao, ultimately perceiving the Tao origin beyond the laws. Most immortal venerables are blocked on the path of comprehending the Tao. Even when immortal kings and emperors were still around, only a very few prodigies were fortunate enough to comprehend the Tao, intertwine laws, and perceive the origin. Yet the majority of immortal venerables fail to discern the direction of the Tao and end in melancholy. This was also why, when the Yu family ancestor saw that Lu Yi actually possessed the power of Tao, he was so shocked and cared for and protected Lu Yi so much. Lu Yi's talent is too great. As long as he reaches the immortal venerable level, he skips the most arduous process of comprehending the Tao. As long as he weaves his inner world with the Tao, ascending to the immortal king realm would be as easy as reaching into a bag to retrieve something. In the eyes of the Yu family ancestor, Lu Yi is merely an unripe immortal king, and given the opportunity, it's not impossible for him to reach the immortal emperor. Of course, the current Lu Yi is just a heavenly immortal, who has just begun to break through to the true immortal realm. The so-called immortal king and emperor are yet too distant. A cultivator at the heavenly immortal realm with strong talent may comprehend more than one type of law, but to merge the laws into one and along with the immortal spirit qi to condense the world laws is extremely difficult. With each additional law, the difficulty multiplies several folds. A genius might merge 2, even 3 laws, while an average cultivator will at most merge one type of law as the main power of laws to cultivate, and in the future, that immortal's inner world will be a world of this law. But Lu Yi naturally would not limit himself to one law. He had the idea even before his breakthrough. He intended to merge with the Tao. Yes, Lu Yi wanted to merge the Tao he had comprehended from the Tao treasures he obtained with the immortal spirit qi, to condense his own Tao world seed. If he succeeds, then the future Lu Yi could perhaps deduce a Tao world that encompasses everything, contains all things, and might even evolve into a universe of his own. In fact, Lu Yi once considered whether to try merging the chaotic power he had. But Lu Yi found that, although he had absorbed Chaos Qi and the Chaos Pearl, and even though these are Chaos treasures, the Chaos Supreme Truth was far too profound for him to merge with at his current realm and state. He had to settle for the next best thing, merging with the power of Tao. Lu Yi, while listening to the Yu family ancestors' lectures, understood that even after condensing one's own inner world, the inner world still needed to be sculpted and crafted bit by bit. This means that in the future, once Lu Yi's cultivation base is higher and his comprehension of the chaos supreme truth deepens, he could also merge his chaotic power with the inner world, ultimately transforming the Tao world into a chaos world. One must eat bit by bit and walk step by step. For now, it's just fine to start out by roughly perceiving the Tao world. While Lu Yi was in seclusion, even with the great array concealing it, Tao Yun still emanated from Ling Luo Peak, and Tao sound spread throughout the White Cloud Immortal sect. This caused great astonishment among all disciples of the White Cloud Immortal sect. They looked towards Ling Luo Peak with immense admiration. Is Lu Yi immortal ancestor, comprehending some profound mysteries of the Tao again? Truly worthy of being Lu Yi immortal ancestor, even the ancestors of other sects have to treat him with the respect due to a master. Exactly what difference does it make if the immortal sect Holy Lands have been around longer than ours? In the end, aren't they still inferior to Lu Yi immortal ancestor? Yes. In the hearts of all the disciples, Lu Yi is hardly any different from a deity. News of Lu Yi being in seclusion to comprehend the Tao, and the spread of Tao Yun and Tao Sound throughout White Cloud Immortal sect quickly spread. As a result, many immortals shamelessly made their way to be guests at the White Cloud Immortal sect, and some were even willing to find temporary cave mansions in the outer sect, just for the chance to perceive from the Tao Yun. Of course, people like Wang Jianyuan, who had good relations with Lu Yi, settled down one by one on Ling Luo Peak. However, because of Yu Lingluo's relationship, they only dared to stay at the same height as the elders of Ling Luo Peak, not daring to go higher, to avoid displeasing the second lady of the Yu family. Apart from these immortals, there were also Jiang Fan, Long Yashin, and other good friends of Lu Yi. They were all currently staying at the residences of the direct disciples of Ling Luo Peak, just to comprehend the laws. The relationship between the disciples of Ling Luo Peak was quite good, and naturally, they also had a good relationship with Lu Yi. When Lu Yi's friends came to stay, they were warmly welcomed. Not to mention that there was Nangong Moyu and other senior brothers, who had a very good relationship with Lu Yi himself. The Tao Yun continued for a full 50 years before finally settling down. Inside the cultivation room, Lu Yi slowly opened his eyes, a hint of vexation appearing in them. It seemed that he had been too naive. Even just the fusion of Tao patterns and immortal spirit Qi to condense a Tao seed was far from simple. With his current foundation and talent, completing it wouldn't be a problem, but it would take no small amount of time to refine. According to his current progress, Lu Yi estimated that it would probably take a few thousand years as a minimum. A few thousand years. Bear in mind that it hadn't taken him 1,000 years to progress from the first layer to the peak of the heavenly immortal realm. Just breaking through this bottleneck required so long, which was somewhat unacceptable to Lu Yi. No one knew how long it would take for the Jiyu channel to spread. Saving even a bit of time was crucial. After some thought, Lu Yi decided to change his method. He needed to enter a state of enlightenment. In this state, Lu Yi could stir the Tao tide, and his comprehension of the Tao would naturally far exceed the norm. In this way, even the fusion of the Tao seed wouldn't take so long. As for the state of enlightenment, he would naturally need to go to the Yu family ancestors' lectures. Lu Yi stepped forward, merging into space and arriving at the top of Ling Luo Peak. The bamboo house remained as always, but at the edge of the bamboo house, a new small bamboo hut had been constructed, which was the residence of Yu Yuanwu. Yu Yuanwu obviously felt Lu Yi's presence, opened the door, and exclaimed in surprise, "Brother-in-law, have you finished your seclusion? No wonder the Tao Yun has disappeared." Lu Yi looked at Yu Yuanwu with a humorless expression. "The Tao Yun disappeared, and your comprehension disappeared as well. I'm afraid Master is going to deal with you later." Yu Yuanwu had extremely high talent, but he just couldn't settle down to cultivate seriously. Otherwise, he would probably have a higher cultivation base than he did now. Just then Yu Lingluo's ethereal voice sounded, "Yu Yuanwu, what are you doing outside?" Yu Yuanwu's face turned pale in an instant, not even taking the time to greet Lu Yi. He directly returned to his hut and closed the door. During this time, he had been severely chastised by Yu Lingluo. Now seeing Yu Lingluo, he was like a mouse seeing a cat. Lu Yi's mouth twitched slightly, and then the door of the bamboo house opened, with Yu Lingliuo's voice coming through, "Come in." When Lu Yi entered the bamboo house, he saw Yu Lingliuo lounging lazily on a bamboo couch, her loose white dress revealing her jade-like legs and arms, not regarding Lu Yi as an outsider at all. Lu Yi was used to this and said with a smile, "Master." The Ling Luo Peak Master nodded and asked directly, "What do you need from me? I'm still in the middle of comprehension." Lu Yi also got straight to the point. "I want to return to Jade Star for a while." "Yu Lingliuo." Startled, she sat up straight, her eyes wide with some nervousness as she looked at Lu Yi. "Return to Jade Star for what?" Could it be that this rascal couldn't restrain his nature anymore, planning to go back to propose marriage, then take advantage of his position as her disciple? Over these hundreds of years, the Ling Luo Peak Master had actually considered such a possibility and felt a bit anxious about it. But having waited for several hundred years without Lu Yi proposing anything, she was somewhat irritated inside. Did this rascal not find her attractive at all? However, now that the young man had brought it up, Yu Lingliuo started feeling anxious again. Lu Yi said with a smile, "I've encountered some difficulties in breaking through to the true immortal realm during my seclusion. I would like to go back and listen to the ancestors' lectures on the Tao, seeking an opportunity for breakthrough." The Ling Luo Peak Master. Her facial expression gradually faded. "What? You're going back just to listen to the ancestors' lectures?" Chapter 642, 305 Breakthrough to True Immortal, Tao World Seed. Chapter 642, 305 Breakthrough to True Immortal, Tao World Seed. Lu Yi heard the Ling Luo Peak Master's words, froze for a moment, and looked at the Ling Luo Peak Master with some confusion. Otherwise, what could it be? The corner of the Ling Luo Peak Master's mouth twitched, followed by a dry cough. Indeed, it should be to discuss the Tao. It was then that the Ling Luo Peak Master suddenly realized something. His eyes widened as he looked at Lu Yi. "Wait, what did you just say? You were in seclusion for a breakthrough. You've reached the heavenly immortal peak." Lu Yi nodded his head. "Yes, I reached the heavenly immortal peak just some time ago and started to break the Tao World Seed." The Ling Luo Peak Master was full of black lines. How could this guy's cultivation speed be so fast? Not just him, Ningxuang and the others were also cultivating quite quickly. Some days ago, when he saw Ningxuang, she seemed to have already reached the heavenly immortal 8th layer, right? The Ling Luo Peak Master naturally understood the reason for their swift cultivation progress. Their cultivation techniques were simply outrageous. Damn it, if she also cultivated such a technique, could she quickly advance at the profound immortal level? The Ling Luo Peak Master was jolted awake and quickly shook his head. How could he entertain such thoughts? Seeing the Ling Luo Peak Master suddenly shake his head, Lu Yi was somewhat puzzled. "Master, what's wrong?" "It's nothing." The Ling Luo Peak Master then coughed dryly and said, "I've had some insights these past days and need to go into seclusion. I won't accompany you back. You can go back on your own." Lu Yi, full of question marks, said, "Go back alone? That's not good, is it?" After all, he was not a member of the Yu family. If the Ling Luo Peak Master didn't go with him, he would feel somewhat embarrassed. "What's bad about it? It's settled then. If you feel bad, just bring Yuan Wu with you." After that, the Ling Luo Peak Master hustled Lu Yi out of the room and shut the door. Lu Yi sighed helplessly, and then went to Yu Yuanwu's room to ask if he wanted to go back. Yu Yuanwu probably wanted to return, especially since here, he was constantly being disciplined by the Ling Luo Peak Master every day. To Lu Yi's complete surprise, Yu Yuanwu also refused, shaking his head repeatedly. "Brother-in-law, I'm not going back. Being here allows me to listen to you talk about the Tao from time to time, which has advanced my cultivation much more quickly than at home. Why should I leave?" Yu Yuanwu grinned and said, "I plan to work hard in secret and amaze everyone when I break through to the profound immortal realm." In their family, his elder brother Yu Hangguang had the best talent for cultivation and was also used as an example. Although Yu Yuanwu's talent was top-notch within the Yu family, it still fell short compared to Yu Hangguang and Yu Lingliuo, which was a lot of pressure. Now that he had the chance to surpass his elder brother, how could he not be excited? "You're really not going back?" Lu Yi asked. "Not going back, not even if you beat me to death." Lu Yi sighed. "Okay then. I was thinking if you accompanied me, I'd give you some private lessons on the side, but never mind." "Wait a minute," Yu Yunwu said earnestly. "Brother-in-law, I just realized it would be quite lonely for you to go back alone. I should accompany you, right? That way you'll have some company on the way." Now you're talking sense. Let's go, let's go. Better now than later, Lu Yi took out the Red Sun boat and left Tiananmen with Yu Yuanwu. On their journey, Lu Yi did not go back on his word and exclusively instructed Yu Yuanwu on the Tao, which benefited him greatly. But several months later, Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu returned to Jade Star. As they had been away from the Yu family for hundreds of years, Yu Xin and others had already come out of seclusion. Seeing Yu Yuanwu, Yu Xin's face was icy as she scoffed, "You still know to come back." Then she turned her head, looking at Lu Yi, her expression changing as if putting on a new face, warm and gentle. "You're back too. Are you tired from the road?" Yu Yuanwu. He looked at Yu Xin in disbelief, unable to figure out who was actually the blood relative. Yu Yuanwu complained, "I didn't neglect my cultivation during this trip. I've already become a true immortal." Hearing this, Yu Xin was startled, looking him over, and indeed, Yu Yuanwu had become a true immortal. She was somewhat astonished. "Your cultivation speed is faster than I anticipated. It seems that following year was indeed the right choice." Lu Yi smiled. "Great master, Yuanwu has indeed been cultivating very diligently lately. It's also due to you and Ling Luo's good guidance." Yu Yuanwu. He turned inwardly mute, not wanting to speak any further. "By the way, where is Ling Luo?" Yu Xin looked around, frowning. Right after coming out of seclusion, Yu Xin discovered that Yu Lingluo had run away with Lu Yi, which almost drove her mad. She was planning to seriously admonish her. Lu Yi coughed and said, "Master had some insights and is currently in seclusion, not able to return with me." Yu Xin. She turned inwardly mute as well. Yu Xin glanced at Yu Yuanwu next to her and transmitted a message to Lu Yi. I know you and Ling Luo are close. That girl Ling Luo is a bit embarrassed. As a man, you can take the initiative. At critical moments, show a man's courage. Ling Luo won't hurt you. You understand what I mean, right?" Lu Yi, his head full of question marks, looked at the winkling and nodding Yu Xin. "What on earth does that mean? Show a man's courage, she won't hurt me. Is that suggesting he take her by force?" A part of Lu Yi actually felt somewhat tempted. Coughing, he said, "Great master, I'll keep that in mind when I get back." Yu Xin nodded, satisfied. "Speaking of which, why the rush to come back? Is there a matter?" Lu Yi nodded. "Indeed, I've reached the heavenly immortal peak and plan to make a breakthrough, but I'm somewhat puzzled about the true immortal bottleneck, so I wanted to hear the ancestor talk about the Tao." Chapter 643, 305, Breakthrough to True Immortal, Tao World Seed. Chapter 643, 305, Breakthrough to True Immortal, Tao World Seed. Yu Xin was startled, his face a picture of astonishment. "You've already reached the peak of heavenly immortal." Even in the Yu family, where exceptional talents were plentiful, such an exaggerated cultivation speed was unheard of, reaching the peak of heavenly immortal in just a mere 1,000 years. That speed was too fast. Yu Xin exclaimed, "It's no wonder it's year. Favored by the Tao, even your cultivation speed is so swift. In the entire universe, probably only those vanished immortal kings and immortal emperors could compare with you." Lu Yi smiled modestly. "Grandmaster, you flatter me." Yu Xin waved his hand. "Don't be modest. In our Yu family, even the old ancestor didn't have such a rapid cultivation speed in his younger days." Lu Yi gave a wry smile. Wanting to consult the old ancestor, he should have come out of seclusion. "Let's go, I'll take you to him." Lu Yi immediately showed a smile. "Thank you, Grandmaster." "Still so formal with your Grandmaster," Yu Xin laughed. "Let's go." The two men reached the secluded valley where Elder Yu Cheng was. Lu Yi saw Yu Cheng sitting by the stream and instinctively noticed that Yu Cheng's aura had somewhat changed since before, becoming more profound and indescribable. Clearly, during his recent seclusion, Yu Cheng had achieved further advancements in his power. Yu Cheng, upon seeing Lu Yi, beamed and smiled warmly, waving at him. My child, you're back and didn't even say a word." Lu Yi smiled sheepishly. "After all, I had been away for a long time and missed home a bit." "Ha ha ha, you my boy." Yu Cheng laughed and didn't blame Lu Yi. "Tell me, you must have a matter to discuss since you've come back." Lu Yi smiled. "Elder Grandmaster sees clearly. I've reached the peak of heavenly immortal now. At the brink of a breakthrough, I'm having some troubles and wish to hear the Elder Grandmaster's teachings to clear my doubts." Like Yu Xin, Yu Cheng was surprised to hear that Lu Yi had reached the peak of heavenly immortal. However, having seen more of the world than Yu Xin, He was merely surprised for a moment before recovering. Excellent, excellent. A cultivator favored by the Tao truly differs from ordinary cultivators. Since that's the case, I shall share with you my insights from when I reached my breakthrough. Thank you, Elder Grandmaster. The entire affair was going smoothly, and Lu Yi felt quite grateful. The Yu family treated him exceptionally well. Whenever he wished to hear about the Tao, the Yu family ancestor was always willing to share it. During this session, Elder Yu Cheng was very detailed in his lecture, sharing his own personal insights and the experiences of many Yu family cultivators during their breakthroughs with Lu Yi. Listening attentively, Lu Yi gained significant insights. When it came to the fusion of immortal spirit qi and power of laws, there were some small tricks. These were secrets passed down by generations of cultivators, and unique to a powerful family like the Yu family, truly priceless treasures. And these tricks were also applicable to him. He was very excited internally, as listening to the teachings was worthwhile even without any task rewards. Moreover, following the teachings, he was to be rewarded with an additional opportunity for enlightenment. This time Lu Yi was fully confident that he could consolidate his own Tao world seed. After the teachings concluded, Lu Yi and Elder Yu Cheng said farewell, and he returned to say goodbye to Yu Xin and his family. Naturally, Yu Yuanwu also planned to leave with Lu Yi. Thus, the two once again embarked on the Red Sun boat and departed from Jade Star. A few months later, Lu Yi and Yu Yuanwu returned to Tiananmen. Returning to the White Cloud Immortal sect, Lu Yi immediately went to the cultivation room and entered seclusion. Not long after, an encompassing Tao Yun and Tao sound enveloped the entire White Cloud Immortal sect. The cultivators originally in seclusion, including the Ling Luo Peak Master and Liu Ningxuang, sensed the change. The Ling Luo Peak Master opened her eyes, looking in the direction of Lu Yi's cave mansion, murmured with some surprise, "He's back so soon. Could it be he has found a breakthrough opportunity already?" No sooner had she spoken than Tao surged. Tao patterns and Tao light emerged from the endless void like a tide, engulfing the entire White Cloud Immortal sect and then spreading in all directions, eventually enveloping all of Tiananmen. Lu Yi remembered the two previous states of enlightenment at Jade Star, deactivated the concealment Great Array, and while in the state of enlightenment, the Tao tide gushed forth, causing the Tao to resonate around him. The disturbance was immense, and the cultivators throughout Tiananmen were immediately immersed in the Tao. Not only them, but as the essence of the Tao spread, it also attracted the immortal-level beings from nearby star systems. All of this Lu Yi completely ignored. In the state of enlightenment, Lu Yi began his second integration of the power of Tao and immortal spirit qi. Endless Tao light flickered within Lu Yi's body. Tao runes gradually converged and merged with the surging immortal spirit qi inside him, eventually forming a seed that contained all colors and all brilliance. This seed slowly merged into the Danshan within Lu Yi, fluctuating amidst the immortal spirit qi there, nourished by it. The Tao world seed had formed. From that moment, Lu Yi had broken through to the true immortal realm. Lu Yi stood up and vanished from inside the cultivation room. He had already felt the presence of the immortal thunder tribulation. Arriving in the vacuum far away from Tiananmen, Lu Yi's body abruptly appeared. As Lu Yi appeared, an endless oppressive force followed, and the heavenly Tao thunder tribulation emerged. The clouds of the immortal thunder tribulation were incredibly dense, dyed a purple-red by the immortal thunder. The thunder contained within was clearly extraordinary. To this, Lu Yi was already accustomed, since the thunder tribulation he encountered with every breakthrough was rare. This time, however, he had directly condensed a Tao world seed, and it was clear that the immortal thunder tribulation would not be simple. Soon, endless heavenly thunder enveloped Lu Yi, illuminating the entire starry sky. Not far away was Tiananmen's other planets. Under the tide of spiritual energy, the planets were continuously trembling. It was good that there were no living beings on them. Otherwise, for the beings on those planets, it would definitely be a massive calamity. The immortal thunder tribulation lasted for a full 10 days, and during it, Lu Yi perceived the changes brought about by his own breakthrough. The greatest change was in Lu Yi's power of laws. Because he had used the power of Tao to directly condense a Tao world seed, all the laws Lu Yi mastered improved by 10%, and some weaker laws had improved even more than 10%. Not only that, Lu Yi discovered that after the immortal spirit qi merged with the Tao world seed, It would contain the essence of Tao. Its power increased many times over from before. The quality of this certainly surpassed a normal true immortal level. Even his master, who had reached profound immortal level, could not match Lu Yi in terms of the quality of spiritual energy. Lu Yi recalled the strong figures he knew and made comparisons, only to find that the quality of his immortal spirit Qi was just slightly inferior to Yu Tianfeng, who was at the golden immortal level. And Yu Tianfeng was not considered weak among the golden immortals. This meant that Lu Yi's immortal spirit Qi, which had merged with the essence of Tao, could now compare to a reasonably weak golden immortal. For a cultivator who had just broken through to the true immortal realm to have immortal spirit Qi comparable to a golden immortal, if told to others, could probably be terrifying news. Beyond that, the Tao world seed would absorb power from the void, and then transform it into immortal spirit Qi through the world seed. This meant that Lu Yi's recovery speed for immortal spirit Qi would increase significantly, and even if he used golden immortal skill, he could maintain it for quite a long time. In the heavenly immortal level, Lu Yi could only maintain the golden immortal skill for a very short time. Now, sustaining it for a few days should not be a problem. This meant that Lu Yi could engage in full-force battles for days and nights. Moreover, because he had merged with the world seed and the integration of Tao and immortal spirit Qi, Lu Yi now found it easier to use laws than before. If at the heavenly immortal level, Lu Yi could only use about 70% to 80% of the law's power, now he could use 100% of the law's power. The stronger the power of laws, the stronger the immortal technique becomes. This was a huge improvement for Lu Yi. It could be said that just by breaking through to the true immortal level, Lu Yi's strength had increased several times over from when he was at the peak of heavenly immortal. Using various trump cards, Lu Yi was confident that within the profound immortal level, there should be little opposition. As for facing a golden immortal, it would depend on the strength of that golden immortal. Of course, Lu Yi would not provoke a golden immortal without good reason. Now, the strongest Yu family in the sky-falling star domain could almost be considered his own family. In the sky-falling star domain, there probably wasn't a golden immortal who dared to provoke him. Just as Lu Yi was reviewing his state, intending to return, unexpectedly his expression subtly changed and he looked towards the void. In that direction, Lu Yi felt several powerful presences quickly approaching. Chapter 644-306, Star Sky Pirates, Profound Immortal. Chapter 644-306, Star Sky Pirates, Profound Immortal. Lu Yi quietly watched the direction from which the breath was coming, waiting a long time until suddenly, a massive heavenly boat swiftly flew over from the distance. These heavenly boats compared to gigantic cities, chaotic with a multitude of breaths inside, hosting almost hundreds of immortals, among them the strongest even reaching the profound immortal level. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow, somewhat puzzled. Who might these people be from, and what could they be doing here? Lu Yi observed the moving direction of the heavenly boats, which clearly headed towards Tiananmen. Lu Yi thought for a moment, then transformed into a beam of light, intercepting these heavenly boats as he transmitted his psychic fluctuations. "Stop, who are you?" The heavenly boats quickly halted, and then several true immortals flew out. They were dressed in odd and bizarre outfits, their races including not only humans but also members of the Three-Eyed Clan, and even the Demon Clan among others. A few immortals quickly crossed the vacuum, arriving in front of Lu Yi. One of the immortals, bearing the head of a black bear, revealed a smile. "Fellow Taoist, are you a local cultivator, or were you attracted by the Taoist skills aura?" Hearing this, Lu Yi had a somewhat strange expression. Attracted by the Taoist skills aura. He then realized it was probably because the enlightenment state he had experienced during his breakthrough had extended far, attracting the nearby strong beings. He smiled. "I am a local cultivator." Upon hearing this, the immortal's smiles gradually twisted, as the black bear immortal's eyes gleamed coldly. "That's even better, then please lead us to find the treasure. Such fluctuations must belong to an unimaginable treasure, right?" Lu Yi. He was stunned, then scanning the feral expressions on the immortal's faces he realized. "So you were attracted by a so-called treasure, and are planning to seize it." "Ha ha ha, otherwise, what else could attract us to such a remote corner?" The immortals laughed aloud. "If you know what's good for you, surrender quietly. We are the Star Wind Pirates. You have probably heard of us, right? If you fail to recognize this fact, then we can only refine you into a puppet, threatened the black bear Immortal. So they were pirates of the starry skies. Having stayed with the Yu family for so long, Lu Yi had naturally heard from his master and Yu Yuanwu about some situations in the sky falling star domain. After all, the starry skies were vast. In the hundreds of thousands of light years of the sky falling star domain, even as powerful as the Yu family was, it couldn't possibly eliminate all threats. Star sky pirates were one such threat, mostly devil cultivators wanted by various major clans and races, banding together to pillage, kill, and destroy planets in the starry skies. This was somewhat similar to the heavenly demon, but unlike the heavenly demon, the star sky pirates acted for profit. They would decisively leave if in danger, making them more troublesome than the heavenly demons. The Yu family had even formed the Skyfall Navy, specifically to combat these star sky pirates. Lu Yi hadn't expected that the disturbance caused by his breakthrough would attract the star sky pirates. Lu Yi touched his own face. It seemed he wasn't famous enough. If he were more well-known, these pirates might have thought twice upon seeing him and not been so audacious. But no matter, it was good timing since he had just broken through. It was a chance to test his current strength. Seeing Lu Yi stay silent, the true immortals all had cold expressions, staring intently at Lu Yi. "Hey, what are you daydreaming about? Do you want to die? If you lead us to the treasure, we might consider sparing your life." The true immortals naturally hoped they could find the treasure. After all, a treasure capable of releasing such vast Taoist skill fluctuations was likely of acquired spiritual treasure level, or even possibly an innate spirit treasure. If it were an innate spirit treasure, and the Star Wind Pirates acquired it, they could rise to be one of the top pirate groups. Even the Yu family navy would find them difficult to handle, unless an immortal venerable personified intervened. With this thought, they couldn't help but get excited. Lu Yi smiled. "I'm sorry, Star Wind Pirates, I truly haven't heard of you." The smiles on the pirates' faces slowly faded as they coldly observed Lu Yi. "Refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Since that's the case, we'll just have to perform a soul search." The true immortals slowly surrounded Lu Yi with waves of immortal spirit qi swirling around, vaguely sealing off the space, leaving no escape route for Lu Yi. Lu Yi's expression remained calm. "Don't worry, I won't be going anywhere." Seeing Lu Yi's nonchalant expression, the true immortals grew even angrier. "How dare you completely disregard us? Seeking death." The immortals immediately pulled out their own immortal artifacts, with immortal light blossoming. One wielded a sharp long sword falling like a star toward Lu Yi, another a black tower as massive as a mountain trying to suppress him, and others wielded a large bell, a blood-red cloth fragment, and so forth. Various immortal artifacts instantly enveloped Lu Yi. The immortals themselves also surged with immortal spirit qi, employing immortal techniques. Laws surged between them as flames erupted and frost formed, sending arrays of brilliant light assaulting Lu Yi. Lu Yi glanced at the incoming immortal artifacts and immortal techniques, his expression calm, unmoving. Soon, the immortal artifacts and immortal techniques hit where Lu Yi stood. Spirit light flickered out like exploding stars, and dazzling flowing light flashed in the vacuum. The powerful fluctuations radiated out, instantly crossing hundreds of thousands of kilometers, spreading in all directions, and even the immortals inadvertently stepped back. Above the sky of Tiananmen, one immortal after another suddenly opened their eyes, looking towards the sky. They had previously been immersed in the afterglow of the Tao, perceiving the Taoist skills, but unexpectedly, vibrations from a battle reached them. Chapter 645-306, Star Sky Pirates, Profound Immortal 2. Chapter 645-306, Star Sky Pirates, Profound Immortal /2. Top Ling Luo Peak. The Ling Luo Peak master frowned, a trace of icy coldness flashing across her eyes. Such audacity to actually stir trouble in Tiananmen, who is it? She flew out of the bamboo cottage and saw Yu Yuanwu also flying out. "Sister, who's over there?" Yu Yuanwu furrowed his brows too, his expression angry. He was in the midst of comprehending Taoist skills, never expecting to be interrupted at a crucial moment. The Ling Luo Peak master shook her head slightly. "Let's go have a look." At this moment, several auras transformed into streaks of light and flew towards the heavens, precisely Liu Ningxuang and her three companions. The Ling Luo Peak master glanced at them and followed suit. Not only them, But immortals who had been in seclusion within the White Cloud Immortal sect were also emerging from their retreats one after another, each with a cold expression, cursing as they rushed toward the outer heavens. Tiananmen was originally their homeland, and now that Tiananmen was getting better and better, they couldn't believe that someone would dare to cause trouble there. This was, after all, too disdainful of them. Meanwhile, in the vacuum of space, the aftermath settled, and the spirit light gradually dissipated, but there was no sign of joy on the faces of several true immortals. They all looked solemnly at the center of the spirit light, because they found that the aura of that cultivator was not weakening, but getting stronger instead. What's wrong with that guy? Don't know, it's strange, be careful. The immortals exchanged private communications, extremely vigilant. It was only when the spirit light completely vanished that they saw Lu Yi still standing in the vacuum of space, his position unchanged. Around him, black and white yin-yang qi flowed, upon which mysterious law runes hovered, forming an undying immortal map that enveloped Lu Yi. And within the map, Lu Yi was unharmed, not a single injury on him. This caused the true immortals to widen their eyes in shock and awe. As pirates, their way of fighting was either not to act at all, or if they did, it would naturally be with full force. Even if it was several against one, it was the same. Just now, they had almost exerted their strongest capabilities. And yet this person wasn't injured at all. How could that be? They were utterly astounded in their hearts. But Lu Yi was somewhat disappointed. The strength of these few true immortals was too weak. He had actually wanted to test the defensive capabilities of the yin-yang immortal technique. Yet their immortal artifacts and immortal techniques, upon contact with the immortal map, didn't even elicit a reaction. He didn't even feel the slightest threat. How could he test his abilities like this? Lu Yi, resigned, looked at the few true immortals. Haven't you eaten? Would you like to have some spirit food? To be honest, my cooking is quite good. The immortals' faces turned pitch black as they looked at Lu Yi with indescribable wariness. After a moment of silence, the Black Bear Immortal's face broke into a smile, and he cupped his hands, saying, "Fellow Taoist, there has been a misunderstanding, just a misunderstanding. We were only joking with you." When Lu Yi heard this, he immediately laughed. Was it just a joke? Yes, yes, yes. The chorus of true immortals nodded repeatedly. Lu Yi flicked a finger, and from within the yin-yang immortal map, a mysterious ray of light shot out, engulfing a multi-armed alien race immortal in an instant. The alien race immortal didn't even get the chance to scream before he turned into a mist of blood on the spot. This was Lu Yi using the absorbed power of these true immortals through the yin-yang immortal technique, merely utilizing yin-yang reincarnation to blend and reflect the power back at them. It was the immortals, full force to begin with, fused together. One person naturally couldn't withstand it. His face wore a brilliant smile. "I was just joking with you all too, really, you see. I got a little overexcited. You won't hold it against me, right?" As the blood mist slowly dissipated into the vacuum, all the true immortals' pupils contracted, and cold sweat broke out on their backs. They were filled with shock and terror internally. The attack just now, if it were anyone else, they couldn't have blocked it. The Black Bear Immortal realized that the person before him was no pushover. Watching Lu Yi warily, he spoke sharply, "Fellow Taoist, we have already shown you courtesy. If you continue to press us, the leading figures of the Star Wind Pirates are not pushovers." Upon hearing this, an expression of delighted surprise appeared on Lu Yi's face. "Really? That's wonderful, have them come out quickly." Lu Yi had just been worrying about not having a suitable opponent to test his strength against. He had already sensed the several profound immortal-level auras within the heavenly boat, but those profound immortals had managed to keep their composure. Even when Lu Yi killed the alien race true immortal, their auras merely fluctuated slightly, seemingly a bit cowardly. Upon hearing Lu Yi's words, the Black Bear Immortal and the others were at a loss for words, unsure of how to respond. With confused expressions, they looked at the excited Lu Yi, completely unable to comprehend. Normally, if a true immortal with a sane mind heard mention of a profound immortal, how could they show a look of delight? Could it be that he was actually a profound immortal, or was his mind not quite right? The Black Bear Immortal and his companions were momentarily uncertain about the situation. However, Lu Yi was urging, "What's wrong? Aren't you going to let your leaders come out?" "You?" The complexion of the Black Bear Immortal and the others changed. Just then a cold voice rang out, "Fellow Taoist, aren't you being a bit too arrogant?" At the sound of this voice, several true immortals showed looks of delight. The chief. Behind them, atop the heavenly boat, 3 streaks of light rapidly crossed the sky and arrived in front of the Black Bear Immortal and his companions. It was a middle-aged man of the human clan, a woman from the Three-Eyed clan, and a Sea clan individual with an octopus head. The aura of the 3 of them was extremely powerful. The leading human clan middle-aged man had an especially terrifying aura, appearing to be at around the 7th or 8th layer of profound immortal. Big Chief, Second Chief, Third Chief, your subordinates are incompetent. I failed to capture this thief, the Black Bear Immortal said angrily, looking at Lu Ye. Lu Ye glanced at him, quite speechless, and now that the 3 profound immortals had come, he dared to call him a thief. Just now, they were calling him a friend so intimately. The 3 chiefs of the Star Wind Pirates looked closely at Lu Ye. The big chief spoke coldly. "Fellow Taoist is quite powerful, but, after all, you are merely a true immortal. Do you really think you can be on equal footing with profound immortals? Why bother with more talk, brother? Capture him and perform a soul search. The treasures are what matter," said the beautiful woman from the Three-Eyed clan, her expression toward Lu Ye filled with cold, murderous intent. The other octopus-headed profound immortal said nothing, with immortal spirit power surging around him, seeming ready to make a move at any moment. Cultivators of the profound immortal level have their small world seeds unfolded, turning into the embryonic forms of small worlds, and in each aspect, they far surpass true immortals. 3 profound immortals against 1 true immortal, these interstellar pirates never felt they could lose. Lu Ye laughed heartily. "In that case, make your move." 3 profound immortals, it should be a good test of my own strength. Hearing Lu Ye's words, the faces of the 3 sank. "How dare you?" The chief of the Star Wind Pirates reached out with a cold hand, and endless flames appeared out of the vacuum, hot as the sun. The flames turned into a gigantic red hand that covered a radius of thousands of kilometers, reaching out to grab Lu Ye. Lu Ye also didn't evade. He was grasped by the gigantic red hand. The big chief sneered, squeezed hard, and in the next moment, the gigantic red hand flashed with golden brilliance, exploding with a brilliant golden light that distorted space with its high temperature. From the vantage of the Tiananmen, it was as though 2 suns had appeared. The closely approaching Tiananmen immortals' expressions shifted slightly. Profound immortals, Ling Luo Peak Master frowned, a hint of coldness flashing in his eyes as he quickened his pace. Yu Yuanwu and the others followed closely behind. In the vacuum, the fiery light surged. Spiritual energy surged like tides, even obscuring the inner scene from view. The big chief's expression remained calm as he sneered. "He's truly brought disaster upon himself. A mere true immortal to be so presumptuous. Does he think my flame god palm is fake? Big Brother's flame god palm has improved again. It won't be long before you'll achieve great success, right?" said the envying 3-eyed clan woman. The octopus-head 3rd chief also showed a smile. "With Big Brother's flame god palm reaching great success, our Star Wind Pirates can become stronger." The surrounding true immortals also congratulated the big chief. Soon the firelight gradually dissipated, and the spiritual energy settled down. The expressions of the 3 chiefs suddenly changed, looking incredulously in Lu Ye's direction. From within the flames, they felt a powerful aura. As the flames dissipated, Lu Ye stood unharmed in his original spot, his yin-yang law surrounding him with faint ripples. How can this be? All the cultivators of the Star Wind Pirates looked at Lu Ye in disbelief. Chapter 646, 307 Soul Control Seal. Chapter 646, 307 Soul Control Seal. A high-level, profound, immortal cultivator with a full-strength strike was actually unable to break through the defense of a true immortal right before his eyes. If this were spread, probably no one would believe it. But the fact was right before their eyes, and the Star Wind Pirates could only choose to believe. And such a fact was obviously something they did not want to see. The 3 leaders of the Star Wind Pirates immediately retreated, looking at Lu Ye with great wariness. "Who exactly are you?" asked the leader of the Star Wind Pirates with a condensed expression. Lu Ye smiled. "Regardless of who I am, since you have all made your moves, I assume you must be prepared." As he spoke, the air around Lu Ye surged with an exceedingly sharp sword Tao Law, and endless runes transformed into 9 pale long swords. Golden immortal skill, 9 elements killing sword. With the appearance of the pale long swords, the vacuum was filled with a sharp aura, and some true immortal realm star wind pirates even began to show faint sword traces on their skin, from which blood seeped. The 3-star wind pirate leaders felt the imminent threat, and felt as if they were facing a great enemy. Without a second thought, the 3 transformed into streaks of light and flew backward. Clearly, they planned to escape. However, 9 pale streaks of light, like passing through space, rapidly closed in on the 3-star wind pirate leaders. The 3 leaders couldn't escape, and they roared furiously, unleashing their full immortal spirit qi, striking out with various immortal artifacts and immortal techniques in an attempt to fend off the 9 elements killing sword. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Amid the stunning spirit light, the pale threads were very noticeable, as if even the spirit light was being sliced into pieces. In just an instant, screams arose, and then 2 powerful presences disappeared. One figure flew backward, blood scattering across the starry sky. It was the leader of the Star Wind Pirates. His face was pale and his expression was one of terror. He pulled out several talismans, enveloped by spirit light, his speed greatly increased, and he continued to flee. However, the white sword light relentlessly pursued and slashed through the leader's body. His body stiffened in the starry sky, and then exploded into a cloud of blood mist, his presence dissipating. The 3 high-level, profound, immortal leaders of the Star Wind Pirates died on the spot. The remaining true immortal-level Star Wind Pirates felt a chill to the bone, as if they had been soaked in cold water, their bodies even somewhat numb. They looked at the dispersing cloud of blood mist, with faces full of terror and disbelief in their eyes. Dead? In their minds, the invincible 3 high-level, profound, immortal leaders, who had gone through numerous battles and established their fame within the Star Wind Pirates, had just died like that. And moreover, they were killed by a single true immortal. The group of true immortal-level Star Wind Pirates felt as if they were dreaming, unable to regain their senses for a long time. Lu Yi looked at the dispersing blood mist, but in his heart, he was evaluating his own golden immortal skill. It must be said, worthy of being a sword Tao Law golden immortal skill, its power of slaughter was indeed formidable. Invincible, nothing could withstand it. In that attack just now, the 9 elements killing sword light almost completely cut through several profound immortal techniques, even slicing through immortal artifacts. The 2 weaker profound immortal leaders were almost killed instantly, and only the chief, whose cultivation base reached the profound immortal 8th layer, managed to block the 9 elements killing sword several times. However, even so, after the first wave of attacks, the profound immortal 8th layer chief was already heavily wounded. Lu Yi roughly understood the power of the 9 elements killing sword, and he was quite satisfied with it. Unfortunately, he still had the World King Fist and the Fate skill unused. Now that the profound immortals were gone, there was no opportunity left to test them. Lu Yi felt a bit of regret as he looked towards the remaining true immortals. Feeling Lu Yi's gaze, several true immortals naturally stiffened, looking at Lu Yi with fearful faces, and then the Black Bear true immortal immediately prostrated himself in the starry sky. "Fellow Taoist, no, Senior, I beg for mercy. I'm willing to be your slave. Please spare me, Senior." Seeing the Black Bear true immortal begging for mercy, other true immortals immediately knelt down and pleaded as well. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow, looking at the few true immortals with some hesitation. True immortal level was actually not weak in the sky falling star domain. While a regular soldier in the Star Realm Army was a true immortal, that was the Star Realm Army, which was the most elite force of the Yu family. For ordinary immortals, reaching the true immortal level was not easy. And now, this attack by the Star Wind Pirates had reminded Lu Yi. If the Star Wind Pirates could come along with the Tao Tide, could there be others as well? If it were merely ordinary immortals, that would still be fine, but if there were any Star Sky Pirates, he and his master, along with the others, were not around. Relying solely on the immortals originally left here by Tianming might not be able to hold them back. After some thought, Lu Yi felt he really could consider taking them under control. Controlling true immortal-level powerhouses was not simple, but among the cultivation techniques Lu Yi obtained from the Yu family, there was a secret technique suitable for this situation. The Yu family primarily focused on the spirit, having some insights in this area. This secret technique, called the Soul Control Seal, involved planting a seal within another's soul, thus controlling the individual. However, this secret technique had some drawbacks. If the controlled cultivator's soul cultivation base greatly exceeded the practitioner, it was very easy to rebound. Moreover, this secret technique also placed a certain burden on one's own divine soul. Only by cultivating this secret technique deeply could one control cultivators of similar strength. Otherwise, it was somewhat useless. Of course, that was for ordinary cultivators. Lu Yi had cultivated this secret technique to its limit, so even if it failed, there was virtually no backlash to himself. Moreover, if successful, the burden on his own state was also very minimal. Chapter 647-307, Soul Control Seal 2. Chapter 647-307, Soul Control Seal /2. We could give it a try. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow and smiled. If that's the case, open up your divine souls. Upon hearing this, the expression of several true immortals changed dramatically. To open up their divine soul seas, if their souls were controlled, they wouldn't even be able to manage their own lives. This feeling was worse than death. Hearing this, two of the true immortals' complexions shifted, and they immediately turned to flee. However, they had only flown a short distance when they were sliced through by two pale sword lights, and their bodies immediately exploded into a mist of blood. Another true immortal had already stood up, intending to flee. Seeing this, he froze on the spot, neither advancing nor retreating. He turned his head mechanically towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi looked at him too, still with a smile on his face. Choose, run, or open your divine soul. The cultivator let out a dry laugh, glanced at the black bear immortal still kneeling on the ground, and another three-eyed clan immortal. His mouth twitched, and he slowly knelt back down. Lu Yi watched the three of them, who immediately opened their divine souls. Instantly, Lu Yi condensed a soul control seal, and the grayish-black seal entered the divine souls of the three. The next moment, Lu Yi found he could control their divine souls. He had a complete grasp over the three's emotional fluctuations. Wanting them dead or alive was just a thought away for Lu Yi. Lu Yi assessed the situation and found the burden on himself wasn't heavy. Even if he were to control a few dozen true immortals of this level, it shouldn't be a problem. He was a bit surprised internally, but it was within reason. After all, his foundation was so strong. Coupled with his cultivation of soul-related techniques like the Great Illusion Heart Scripture and other cultivation techniques, his spiritual power far exceeded that of true immortals, and probably few profound immortals were as powerful as him. Moreover, his soul control seal was at the extreme level, which meant the burden was naturally small. And the gap in strength between him and these true immortals was too ridiculous, so controlling them was no big issue. The three true immortals now had pale faces, naturally sensing the change, with expressions full of bitterness. Although they didn't know what kind of restriction this was, the moment it was set, they were deprived of their freedom. Lu Yi slightly smiled. Rise. Yes, master. The three stood up, showing utmost respect. As part of the Star Wind Pirates, they knew how to act according to circumstances and quickly adjusted their attitudes. Just then, Lu Yi suddenly raised an eyebrow, looking in the direction of the Star Wind Pirates' heavenly boat. The several heavenly boats had already started, turning around and trying to flee. Clearly, they had realized something was very wrong here and decided to make a run for it. Lu Yi chuckled. You think you can leave? He glanced at the three true immortals and asked, can you keep them here? The three-star wind pirate true immortals had already resigned themselves to their fate. The black bear immortal immediately spoke. Master, no problem. All three leaders of the Star Wind Pirates have perished. Among the true immortals, there are only two left guarding inside the heavenly boats, weaker than the three of us. We can take them down. Lu Yi instantly smiled. Then let's see what you can do. After all, their previous opponent was him, so Lu Yi wasn't sure how strong these few were. This was a good opportunity to assess them. Having said that, Lu Yi waved his hand. The sky tunneling technique activated, immediately transporting the three right next to the heavenly boats in a considerate manner. The three true immortals of the Black Bear were stunned to find themselves instantly beside the heavenly boats, and their minds hadn't even caught up yet. They looked at each other in disbelief. This was clearly the application of space law, and with just a casual gesture, he had transported the three true immortals far away before they could react, showing that the mastery of this space law was surely not low. What kind of monstrosity was their master? Their mentality shifted instantly, and some even began to feel that having such a master, even as slaves, might not be so bad. Lu Yi felt their change in emotions through the soul control seal, his face taking on a peculiar expression. This was a classic case of Stockholm Syndrome. But it didn't matter, since they were already controlled, let them think whatever they wanted. Lu Yi had no compassion for these ruthless sky pirates. He spared their lives only for the future need of having someone to guard his home. Lu Yi didn't pay attention to the direction of the heavenly boats, because those boats didn't even have a space array and couldn't possibly escape, even if those 3 true immortals failed. It would just mean more effort for Lu Yi. He turned and looked in the direction of Tianming, where several auras were rapidly closing in. The leader was none other than his own master, with Liu Ningxuang and several others by the side. Lu Yi smiled and flew over. "Master, why have you come?" The Ling Luo Peak Master glanced in the direction of the heavenly boat, where powerful true immortal level fluctuations were emanating, and the heavenly boat was shaking continuously. "We sensed profound immortal level fluctuations. What's happening?" Lu Yi, upon hearing this, suddenly understood and pointed to the heavenly boat in the distance. There, a group of star space pirates called the Star Wind Pirates wanted to cause trouble. Star Wind Pirates? Aren't they profound immortal level space pirates? I heard they are extremely cunning and quite infamous in the Three-Eyed Star region. Even the navy of this region hasn't been able to catch them, exclaimed Bu Yunjian, astonished. Although Lu Yi had not heard the name of the Star Wind Pirates, it didn't mean others hadn't. After all, immortals who ventured out from Tianming were primarily active in the Three-Eyed Star region, and they had some understanding of the major and minor powers there to varying degrees. It's said that the Star Wind Pirates have 3 profound immortal level leaders, all with formidable strength. Rumors have it that they have plundered many planets, killing off the indigenous population and looting their resources, causing both the Three-Eyed Clan and the navy of this star region a great deal of trouble, Wang Jianyuan said with a furrowed brow and a serious expression. He too had ventured out from Tianming and had spent some time in the Three-Eyed Star region. Ling Luo Peak Master slightly furrowed her brow and looked around. Where are the leaders of the Star Wind Pirates? Lu Yi, with a strange expression, opened his mouth and said, "They're dead." The crowd was stunned dead. Yes, those 3 profound immortals were all killed by me. Lu Yi's expression still carried a hint of regret. If he had known, he might have spared their lives to see if he could also control them. However, seeing their determined attitudes, they probably wouldn't have willingly opened their divine soul seas for him to control. Thinking this, Lu Yi also let go of his concern. Meanwhile, everyone else was looking at Lu Yi with faces full of confusion and astonishment. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master was utterly stunned. Although she knew that Lu Yi had broken through to the true immortal level, and that his strength must be extraordinary, especially considering the great commotion it caused. She never would have imagined that all 3 profound immortals, 3 whole profound immortals, could have been killed by him in such a short span of time. Even if the battle had lasted longer, even if they were killed after a major battle, the Ling Luo Peak Master wouldn't have had such a hard time accepting it. But it ended too quickly. This implied that Lu Yi's strength was probably far beyond those 3 profound immortal level leaders of the Star Wind Pirates. Doesn't this mean that her own disciple may have already surpassed her? The Ling Luo Peak Master felt somewhat numb. Comparatively speaking, Yu Yuanwu was equally numb. They were all true immortals, yet he probably couldn't even defeat a true immortal peak. His brother-in-law, however, managed to kill 3 profound immortals in such a short time. Worthy of being brother-in-law indeed. Only Liu Ningxuang and a few others had a general understanding of Lu Yi's strength and were not too surprised. To varying degrees, everyone else was finding it somewhat unbelievable. Just then the distant battle calmed down. Lu Yi smiled and said, "It looks like it's over." He already felt that the 2 presences in the heavenly boat had become very weak, which must be the 2 true immortals who stayed behind. "What's the situation over there?" the Ling Luo Peak Master asked, puzzled. Lu Yi smiled, "Master, if you come with me you'll see." The group, driven by curiosity, followed Lu Yi and flew towards the Jade boat. Soon 3 figures flew out from the Jade boat. The leading black bear immortal approached Lu Yi, stumbling over as if falling, and respectfully said, "My lord, it has been taken care of." Ling Luo Peak Master and others. Everyone looked at the 3 true immortal cultivators with odd expressions, then turned to look at Lu Yi. Chapter 648, 308 Red Creatures, Freedom. Chapter 648-308 Red Creatures, Freedom. Who are these people? The Ling Luo Peak Master raised an eyebrow and asked. Oh, they're from the Star Wind Pirates, but now they've turned over a new leaf and decided to follow me, Lu Yi said with a smile. The black bear true immortals at the side twitched the corners of their mouths and kept their heads down, not daring to speak. The Ling Luo Peak Master looked at the three black bear true immortals thoughtfully, then raised an eyebrow again. Soul control seal. Lu Yi nodded with a smile. Master is indeed intelligent. The Ling Luo Peak Master frowned slightly. That secret technique is very dangerous. You actually learned it. Master, rest assured, I have cultivated the soul control seal to a very deep realm. There won't be any problems. Lu Yi quickly spoke up, understanding that his master was concerned for him. He even felt a bit of regret that he hadn't been able to control those three profound immortals. Seeing Lu Yi speak like this, the Ling Luo Peak Master nodded slightly and said no more. After all, Lu Yi's strength had already become so formidable that she had little advice to offer. Let's go in and take a look. Guided by the three black bear true immortals, they entered the heavenly boat. The hallway was littered with corpses, and blood splattered the walls. Soon they arrived at a vast hall. The hall originally had some instruments and a great array, but now they were all damaged, with signs of a great battle everywhere. Clearly, there had been a fierce fight here before. Two true immortals from the human clan lay on the ground, their breath weak, with restrictions placed on their bodies. They were still alive. My lord, they are true immortals from the Star Wind Pirates. We've left some alive for you to deal with, the black bear true immortal said. Lu Yi was very satisfied and nodded slightly. Well done. He looked at the two true immortals lying on the ground and said with a smile, Now, you have two choices. One is to die here, and the other is to open your divine soul sea and let me plant a seal, so you will obey me. Hearing these words, the expressions of the two true immortals changed, as they stared intently at the three black bear true immortals. They had already suspected that they might have been controlled during the attack by the black bear true immortals. Now they had met the real master. The two true immortals' expressions changed, and then one of them spoke dejectedly, I choose the second option. Seeing his comrade make a choice, the mental defenses of the other also broke down, and he too chose the second option. Lu Yi gave a slight smile and planted the soul control seal within the divine souls of the two. Controlling 5 true immortals was still a very light burden on Lu Yi's divine soul. Then Lu Yi waved his hand, and the all things revival skill was employed. A green light merged into the bodies of the two severely injured true immortals. Almost in the span of a breath, the injuries of the two true immortals were healed. The two true immortals were dumbfounded, utterly confused. They were well aware of the severity of their injuries, and if they were left to recover on their own, it would take decades to heal, if at all. And now, in just a moment, their injuries had completely healed. With disbelieving eyes wide, they looked towards Lu Yi. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. Aren't you going to get up? The two immediately stood up, expressing their immense gratitude. Thank you, my lord. The three black bear true immortals watching were about to pop their eyes out as they saw the two severely injured true immortals standing up as if nothing had happened. They knew full well how severe their attack had been, and to see their lord heal it all in the space of a breath. What sort of divine being was their lord, really? Having just stepped into the realm of true immortal, he could easily slay those at the 8th layer of profound immortal and heal severely injured true immortals in a single breath. As cultivators who had become true immortals, they naturally had substantial talents and had lived through long years. And as star sky pirates, they traveled far and wide with a vast array of experiences. Yet even with all their knowledge, they still found it incomprehensible. As for Wang Jianyuan and the others, their expressions remained calm, not overly surprised. After all, if Lu Yi could perform resurrection on the previously deceased juniors of the Emperor Sword Sect, merely healing 2 severely injured immortals seemed trivial, hardly worthy of astonishment in their view. It was the Star Wind Pirate true immortals, with their slack-jawed astonishment, to whom they gave exasperated eye rolls. Star Wind Pirates, yet so unsophisticated. What a fuss over nothing. Seeing that everything here was mostly settled, the Ling Luo Peak Master finally asked, Brat, how did these Star Wind Pirates end up causing trouble here? After all, this place was quite remote, nearing the border of the Rashomon star domain. Normally, there shouldn't be many powerful beings coming over. Hearing this, Lu Yi became a bit embarrassed. They were attracted by the disturbance of my breakthrough. They thought a supreme treasure had appeared here. Hearing that, everyone was stunned. The Ling Luo Peak Master and her companions hadn't expected that Lu Yi's breakthrough could create such a far-reaching commotion. And the five-star Wind Pirate True Immortals were completely baffled. They looked at each other with blank expressions, and then at Lu Yi. The Black Bear True Immortal cautiously asked, "My lord, what did you just say? The disturbance of your breakthrough?" Lu Yi smiled, his expression somewhere between amusement and earnestness. "The fluctuations of the Tao you felt earlier were caused by my breakthrough." The five-star Wind Pirate True Immortals had nothing but question marks in their minds. Reason told them it couldn't be possible, for how could such an immense Tao fluctuation be caused by a mere ascension from heavenly immortal to true immortal? But then they thought of Lu Yi's earlier feats, and suddenly life seemed uncertain. It seemed perhaps not entirely impossible. The mere thought of this possibility almost made them spit blood. Chapter 649, 308 Red Creatures, Freedom 2. Chapter 649-308 Red Creatures, Freedom /2. Damn it, what did they come all this way from tens of light years away for? It was for the treasure, wasn't it? And now, damn, they ended up delivering it straight to the owner himself. Not only that, but they even planned to take on the owner. What kind of rotten luck is this? Lu Yi, through the soul control seal, sensed the wildly complex emotional fluctuations of five true immortals and glanced at them, not knowing what they were thinking. Upon hearing Lu Yi's words, those from Ling Luo Peak considered even more. The cultivators furrowed their brows, and Wang Jianyuan expressed his concern. The noise from Lu Yi's breakthrough managed to travel this far. This is something we never anticipated. Yes, the Star Wind Pirate probably isn't the only one who's been drawn here. If more powerful cultivators arrive, then we're in trouble, Long Yuan similarly worried. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master slightly furrowed her brow. Despite being the second lady of the Yu family, and respectfully regarded by all on normal days, when it comes to interests of a Tao level, there would definitely not be a shortage of people willing to take risks. The Yu family had many practitioners. The young generation that died during trials wasn't non-existent. The name of the Yu family could deter all major forces, but against some lawless villains, it might not be enough to deter them. She thought for a moment, then said, "I'll notify my family to have the old ancestor send someone over." Lu Yi raised an eyebrow. Is it necessary to make such a big deal out of it? The Ling Luo Peak Master rolled her eyes. Don't you realize your importance right now? If something unexpected happens, the old ancestor himself would have to come out, and that would shake the entire Tianluo star domain. Upon hearing this, Wang Jianyuan and the others looked at Lu Yi with shock on their faces. Though they knew that Lu Yi now held a not insignificant status with the Yu family, they hadn't imagined it was to this extent. Even the immortal venerable level ancestor of the Yu family would come out because of Lu Yi's appearance. Are you kidding me? Even they thought so, not to mention the true immortals of the Star Wind Pirates. They were completely numb. Damn, just who have they messed with? The Yu family ancestor, that's an immortal venerable level big shot. If such a figure targeted them, wouldn't the Star Wind Pirates probably be dead no matter where they fled? Upon hearing this, Lu Yi no longer opposed the idea. The Yu family valued him highly. He couldn't just ignore their kindness. Then Lu Yi looked in a direction and sensed some weak breaths through the walls. He raised an eyebrow. Did they leave any survivors? The Star Wind Pirates members at the heavenly immortal level are honestly too weak to be worth controlling for Lu Yi. Since he wouldn't control them, these ruthless Star Sky Pirates naturally don't deserve to live. Seeing that Lu Yi was reproaching them, the five true immortals immediately knelt down. The Black Bear True Immortal hastily said, "Please forgive us, Master. All members of the Star Wind Pirates have been eliminated." Then whose breaths are those remaining? Lu Yi was puzzled. The five true immortals shared a glance. Then the Black Bear True Immortal said, "Those are slaves we captured alive from other planets, intended for auction in the Black Abyss star region." Slaves? Lu Yi frowned, a chill flashing in his eyes. They had unexpectedly captured slaves. Not only Lu Yi but also Wang Jianyuan and the others changed their expressions. Normally, under the Yu family's decrees, Even planets without cultivators were protected, and only criminals could be made slaves. Unexpectedly, these people had destroyed planets and also taken slaves. If Tiananmen did not have Lu Yi there, perhaps it would have faced the same fate. Lu Yi naturally thought of this too, his brows furrowing tightly. Feeling Lu Yi's anger, the black bear true immortal and the others lay prostrate on the ground, trembling, not daring to speak. "Let's go, take us to see them." "Yes." Following Lu Yi's command, the black bear immortal and others promptly rose to their feet and led Lu Yi and his group to another heavenly boat. Soon, they arrived at a prison area within the heavenly boat. The cells imprisoned many cultivators, who varied in appearance. Some were human-shaped creatures made of gray-white rock, others purely beast-like, presumably belonging to the monster clan, and some were covered in black scales with only one eye. What surprised Lu Yi the most was that in the deepest part, there were some human-shaped beings, either handsome or beautiful, with pale red skin and flame-red hair as if engulfed in fire. The spiritual energy of these red beings was not strong, the strongest being a stunningly beautiful woman, who, despite her beauty, only possessed the aura of the Mahayana realm. However, what was surprising was that Lu Yi sensed an aura of the flame law from this stunning woman. Even those red beings with a weaker cultivation base radiated the aura of the fire domain. Not only Lu Yi noticed this, but so did the Ling Luo Peak Master and others. They all exhibited surprised expressions. Merely a cave void realm, yet possessing command over the fire domain. What's that? The leading woman even has a trace of the flame law. She is just in the Mahayana. This race seems to possess a quite powerful innate ability associated with the element of fire. Even the Ling Luo Peak Master remarked with some amazement. A cultivator from the Three-Eyed Clan nearby nodded. Such cultivation talent is even higher than our Three-Eyed Clan's, truly exceptional. These red beings naturally noticed Lu Yi and the others. Upon seeing the black bear true immortal and other real immortals from the Star Wind Pirates, they immediately showed expressions of anger and hatred. Such hatred startled even Lu Yi. Lu Yi raised an eyebrow and inquired, "What's the deal with these red beings?" The black bear true immortal hastily replied, "My lord, it was luck that we found them on a planet along a previously untraveled route. That planet was very close to a constant star, extremely hot, but unexpectedly it harbored life. These beings could live in magma, endowed with a strong talent for the fire law. We spent a long time capturing these few. There are still many such beings on that planet, but at the time the boss said that rarity holds value, so we encircled that planet, planning to first take a batch to auction to see if they would fetch a good price." A chill flashed through Lu Yi's eyes, realizing that the Star Wind Pirates had likely engaged in such actions more than once. He scanned the other slaves and asked, "Are these all the same?" Sensing the chill in Lu Yi's tone, the black bear true immortal nodded. Yes, these are all indigenous beings from the planets we discovered. However, unlike the red beings, these beings were either rare or powerful on their local planets." Lu Yi raised an eyebrow, and their planets, were they also encircled? This left the five from the black bear true immortal silent, afraid to speak. Lu Yi frowned, looking at the five. It was then that the black bear true immortal, trembling, finally spoke. "The second in command likes grandiose scenes. The beings on those planets are not precious. After collecting the resources, the second in command would destroy the planets." Upon hearing this, both Lu Yi and the nearby Liu Ningxuang and others frowned, expressions iced. Donggong Mingyue had never heard of such horrifying actions. That was a planet teeming with life. And it was just destroyed like that. How many beings must have perished? She glared at the black bear true immortal and his group. "You beasts, aren't you too inhumane?" Wang Jianyuan and the others also glared angrily. Wei Kang sighed, "In my travels before, I had also seen life planets plundered bare. This is the plight of the weak." A cultivator from the Three-Eyed Clan visiting Tiananmen nodded deeply in agreement. Star sky pirates are nomadic and incredibly brutal. Such events are not uncommon. Lu Yi fell silent, then sighed softly. Without a visible motion from him, the runes covering the prison all dimmed and then disappeared, and the cell doors opened. The slaves who had been looking at them hatefully were all stunned. The atmosphere became momentarily quiet, and they watched them warily. The silence lasted but a moment before a true immortal giant wolf, shining like the silver moon, roared and lunged at Lu Yi and his group. Just as the giant wave lunged out, its figure froze midair, and the surrounding space completely solidified. The giant wolf struggled fiercely, its eyes filled with icy hatred. The other slaves also surged with energy around their bodies, preparing to pounce. Lu Yi sighed, his gentle spiritual waves transmitting, "The Star Wind pirates have been annihilated. You are free now." At this statement, the atmosphere once again fell silent, everyone stunned. Even the fiercely struggling Silver Moon giant wolf stiffened for a moment, its clear eyes filled with disbelief. Chapter 650-309, Numerous Followers, Red Princess. Chapter 650-309, Numerous Followers, Red Princess. Free. It was unclear who spoke first. Soon many slaves reacted. Really? Are all those bandits dead? The silver giant wolf no longer struggled, staring intensely at Lu Yi, seemingly in disbelief. After all, he knew that the three leaders were far beyond him. Previously, their planet had over 10 true immortals of his caliber. Facing such profound immortals, they didn't even have the capacity to resist. Lu Yi nodded and said with a gentle smile, "Of course it's true. You can go out and see for yourselves." As he spoke, Lu Yi released the spatial constraints, and the silver giant wolf landed on the ground. It glanced at Lu Yi, then towards the people around, and slowly walked past them. No one stopped it, some even made way for him. Seeing this, the other slaves followed the silver giant wolf and walked out as well. Soon they saw corpses everywhere, blood splattered all around. This caused the slaves' eyes to glitter, their expressions changing. They quickened their pace, overwhelmed with emotion. Soon, several immortal-level slaves rushed out of the heavenly boat, flying towards other heavenly boats. Before long, they returned from the other heavenly boats. Including the silver giant wolf, all the slaves showed expressions of joyful surprise. "They're all dead, those beasts are all dead." At this declaration, those cultivators who were weaker and had not rushed out of the heavenly boat revealed broad smiles. "Ha serves them right, heaven is just. Those beasts deserve to die." The slaves were incredibly agitated, crying and laughing. Lu Yi and the others watched the emotional slaves without speaking. Though they couldn't fully empathize, they could somewhat understand these feelings. Especially since, except for the red creatures, the homes of the other slaves had been destroyed. This hatred ran deep. After a moment, the numerous slaves came back to their senses, looking toward Lu Yi and the others. Under the lead of the silver giant wolf, several immortal-level slaves and other slaves approached them. The silver giant wolf lay prostrate on the ground, and the other humanoid slaves also expressed their gratitude and respect towards Lu Yi in the traditional manners of their races. "Benefactor, I apologize for earlier, I was rash. Thank you for avenging us," the silver giant wolf said in a somewhat low tone. "Thank you, Benefactor," the other slaves also spoke up. Lu Yi smiled, "It was just a small effort on my part. You are now free and can go wherever you want. Go ahead." Upon hearing this, all the slaves were momentarily stunned. Then their emotions suddenly fell. Lu Yi also realized that these slaves, whose homelands had been destroyed, probably didn't know where to go. The few immortal-level slaves were somewhat better off. They could survive in the vast starry sky, but the others, even those at great power level, would not be able to survive long in space. They were homeless. Lu Yi thought for a while and then said, "If you have no home to return to, you're welcome to stay on our planet." Upon hearing this, the Ling Luo Peak Master, Liu Ningxuang, and others beside him were startled, gave Lu Yi a glance, and naturally had no objections. Wang Jianyuan and others beside him fell silent. Now that Tiananmen had transformed into an immortal star, but the returning immortals were also numerous. Not everyone was willing to share resources with others. However, since Lu Yi had said this, not to mention that the transformation of Tiananmen into an immortal star was due to Lu Yi's efforts alone, his demonstrated formidable strength, as well as his backing from the Yu family, made it impossible for them to oppose. Since Wang Jianyuan and the others had a good relationship with Lu Yi, they soon came to terms with it. "Since Lu Yi has spoken thus, we naturally have no objections," Long Yuan said with a smile. "I also have no objections," Bu Yunjian also remarked. Immortals who were on good terms with Lu Yi spoke up, and the others could not object. Seeing the matter settled, the silver giant wolf and the other slaves were first stunned, then revealed expressions of incredible joy. "Benefactor, is this really possible? Can we really stay?" Lu Yi nodded, "You can." What he wanted now was to quickly make the cultivators of Tiananmen stronger. Welcoming more capable cultivators was also in his interest. Only by doing so would they have sufficient strength to withstand when the Jiyu channel fully opened. Among this group, there were 3 true immortals and 12 heavenly immortals, a not insubstantial force of immortal-level powers. Assured by Lu Ye, they immediately showed joyful smiles. Lu Ye smiled, providing a place for these homeless cultivators felt right. He turned toward Wang Jianyuan and others, smiling. "Gentlemen, there are likely many resources in this Star Wind pirate group. I'll leave them to you." For him, a small amount of resources was of no use. It was better to enhance the strength of these immortals. Wang Jianyuan and others were indeed taken aback, a bit slow to respond. Then as they recovered, Wei Kang's voice trembled with excitement. "Young Master Lu Yi, really?" Lu Yi nodded. "Go ahead and divide them up." The immortals also showed expressions of joyful surprise. They each bowed to Lu Yi. "Thank you, young Master Lu Yi." "Lu Yi, then we will not be shy." Afterward, the immortals vanished from the spot, evidently rushing to claim the resources. Chapter 651, 309, Numerous Followers, Red Princess 2. Chapter 651-309, Numerous Followers, Red Princess /2. Lu Yi didn't mind. He looked at these slaves and said, "Let's go, I'll take you to Tiananmen. Don't resist." The next moment, Lu Yi used the sky tunneling technique, teleporting all the slaves as well as the Ling Luo Peak Master, Liu Ningxuang, Yu Yuanwu, and 4 others back to Tiananmen. In the blink of an eye, the slaves found themselves in Tiananmen, all of them stunned. What's happening? They were just in the midst of the stars. How did they arrive on the ground so quickly? Among them, a few cultivators of immortal level, having seen more of the world, had their guesses. Indeed, they were even more shocked. Transporting so many people instantly across such great distances, how powerful must this space immortal skill be? They couldn't even begin to imagine. And to think that such a powerful space immortal skill was used by a cultivator of true immortal level. They were dumbfounded, their minds a blank. Lu Yi spoke up. "This is Tiananmen, you can go find a place to cultivate on your own." As he spoke, Lu Yi paused, his expression stern and a formidable aura seeping out. He continued, "However, if you harm any creatures of Tiananmen without reason, don't blame me for being rude." How strong was Lu Yi's power? Even just releasing a trace of his aura turned the slaves' faces pale. Even the 3 true immortal level slaves were startled, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. The silver giant wolf hesitated, then looking at Lu Yi said, "Benefactor, my name is Gon. May I have the honor of becoming your follower?" Hearing this, the 2 humanoid true immortals beside him were taken aback, and then they quickly reacted. Ling Yi, being merely of true immortal level yet possessing such formidable strength, clearly led the other immortals. It's likely he also dealt with the 3 pirate profound immortals earlier. With such potential, this cultivator's future is boundlessly bright. Even just being a follower, if they could follow such a prodigy, they would surely achieve something remarkable in the future. Upon this realization, the 2 true immortals also anxiously said, "It is the same for us both." Seeing that even the 3 true immortals felt the same way, other heavenly immortals naturally spoke up, expressing their desire to follow Lu Yi. Even cultivators below the immortal level eagerly spoke up. "Benefactor saved us, otherwise we might have become slaves. Let us follow the benefactor and serve you." Lu Yi hadn't expected this turn of events and was momentarily stunned. He hesitated for a moment, his gaze sweeping over the hundreds of slaves, and thought, following him might not be so bad. The slaves chosen by the Star Wind Pirates probably had good potential. There might be something unique about them. Cultivating them wouldn't be a bad idea. Lu Yi then said, "If that's the case, those who want to follow me stay here. Those who want to leave go ahead." Upon hearing this, dozens of great power-level humanoid and beastly beings turned away and left, along with 1 heavenly immortal who hesitated before transforming into a streak of light, also departing. The rest all chose to stay. Lu Yi noticed that the red creatures had also chosen to stay, which surprised him. These red creatures were almost all innate spiritual bodies, likely having mastered the power of flames from birth. Such talent was comparable to his senior sisters from the past. If these people were well cultivated, they might become a very powerful force. Lu Yi then suddenly remembered what the Black Bear True Immortal had said. Their planet was still there, and there were many more red creatures there. Lu Yi, of course, would not go to capture those red creatures, but perhaps he could pass down some Taoist skills and cultivate them. However, this was a matter for later. As all the remaining slaves decided to follow him, Lu Yi said, "If so, then come with me." Lu Yi led them towards the White Cloud Immortal sect. Ling Luo Peak Master and the others glanced at the silver giant wolf and other beings following them and said, "Brat, do you plan to bring them back to the White Cloud Immortal sect?" Lu Yi nodded slightly. "Yes, currently Tiananmen has too few strong figures. Our White Cloud Immortal sect, apart from us, doesn't even have any immortals. The Jiyu channel will open sooner or later, and I want to cultivate a group of strong individuals to deal with the Jiyu demons." Hearing this, the Ling Luo Peak Master had an enlightened look and nodded slightly. "If you can cultivate enough immortals, indeed it would be a great help." Lu Yi hesitated and looked at the Ling Luo Peak Master. "Master, most of the forces in the Tianluo star domain are currently engaged in the 7 Jiyu battlefields, right?" Upon hearing this, the Ling Luo Peak Master hesitated, then nodded slightly, "Yes." Yu Yuanwu also spoke. "Yes, to be honest, the Rashomon clan dared to attack our Tianluo star domain because our Yu family's powerhouses were dealing with Jiyu matters, leaving no powerhouses outside. Humph. If our Yu family powerhouses were outside, how would the Rashomon clan dare to make a move?" Lu Yi nodded slightly. Indeed, he was not mistaken. The Ling Luo Peak Master added, "Actually, not just our Tianluo star domain, the Rashomon star domain and Crystal Spirit star domain are the same, all having many Jiyu battlefields to handle." "I understand. But the Jiyu channel here won't fully open for quite some time. We should still be concerned about whether there will be more powerhouses attracted to Tiananmen," the Ling Luo Peak Master said neutrally. Chapter 652, 309, A Great Number of Followers, Red Princess 3. Chapter 652-309, A Great Number of Followers, Red Princess /3. Yu Yuanwu also looked at Lu Yi with a strange expression on his face. "Worthy of being my brother-in-law, the commotion of the breakthrough is so substantial. Truly admirable." Lu Yi's mouth twitched. What could he do about it? In the state of enlightenment, he intended it to be a wave of benefits for the creatures of Tiananmen, but who knew the noise would reach such an extent? Soon, Lu Yi thought of something and his eyes lit up. Perhaps it was necessary to set up a great array that enveloped the entire Tiananmen. In that case, even if there was a state of enlightenment in the future, it should not spread too far. This way, it wouldn't be too dangerous. However, setting up a great array that covered the entire Tiananmen was no small project and would probably take some time. This was only because he had broken through to the true immortal level. Otherwise, his strength might not suffice. Before that, it would be best to improve his array Tao enlightenment a bit more. Oh, and he hadn't absorbed the Chaos Divine Crystal from this breakthrough yet. He needed to enter seclusion to absorb it. But now, with the risk of outsiders being attracted at any moment, he dared not enter seclusion. If his retreat were interrupted and the Chaos Divine Crystal wasted, he would be spitting blood. Such a treasure was too precious. Even Lu Yi dared not squander it and had to be absolutely sure of its safety. Lu Yi was somewhat vexed. He could only wait for the reinforcements from the Yu family to arrive first. Before that, he couldn't absorb the Chaos Divine Crystal. Soon, Lu Yi led his group back to the White Cloud Immortal sect. Feeling such rich immortal spirit qi, even a true immortal like the Silver Wolf had its eyes wide open. When had they ever had such an excellent cultivation environment before? All of them showed expressions of surprise and delight. Following their master, there was such a fortuitous opportunity. This was a huge gain. Wu Qingfeng and the other strong members of the White Cloud Immortal sect naturally felt Lu Yi's approach and flew out to welcome him. Seeing the large group of people behind Lu Yi, Wu Qingfeng and the others were stunned. "Ye, who are these?" Lu Yi said with a smile. "They plan to join our White Cloud Immortal sect, 3 true immortals, 11 heavenly immortals. You can sense the rest, sect leader. 1 heavenly immortal left, otherwise there would have been 12. But Lu Yi did not care about that, to each their own. As long as they followed him, he would not let them suffer loss. Wu Qingfeng and the others. Hearing Lu Yi's words, their minds were filled with question marks, utterly incredulous. What sorcery is this? 3 true immortals, 11 heavenly immortals. Such strength was almost comparable to more than half of the combined strength of the other immortal sect Holy Lands of Tiananmen. So many strong individuals, actually planning to join the White Cloud Immortal sect. Are you kidding me? Yi, are you serious? Wu Qingfeng stammered excitedly. Of course it's true. They will be under your care for the arrangement, sect leader, Lu Yi laughed. Wu Qingfeng nodded excitedly in agreement. He looked at the group of creatures, beaming uncontrollably. Follow me, come quickly, follow me. The silver wolf and the others naturally heard what Lu Yi said and followed Wu Qingfeng away. Lu Yi, seeing the red creatures that also planned to leave, hesitated for a moment before asking, "Who is in charge among you?" While speaking, Lu Yi looked at the stunningly beautiful and regal female creature. She was likely the one in charge. The red creatures' expressions shifted subtly, a hint of nervousness in their demeanor. However, the beautiful woman showed no sign of nervousness. She calmly flew out, bent slightly in a respectful pose. "Master, I am their princess." Lu Yi smiled. "Come with me." Ling Luo Peak Master raised her eyebrows, looking at Lu Yi with some amusement. This brat wasn't harboring impure thoughts because the woman was beautiful, was he? She felt oddly uncomfortable inside. Chapter 653, 310 Strange Bloodline, Transmitting the Immortal Scripture. Chapter 653, -310 Strange Bloodline, Transmitting the Immortal Scripture. The breathtakingly beautiful woman nodded, yes. Afterward, Lu Yi brought the breathtakingly beautiful woman back to Ling Luo Peak, where Liu Ningxuang and the 4 others followed along with the Ling Luo Peak Master. Yu Yuanwu took note of the crowd following and prudently chose not to join them, heading straight back to the peak top to resume his cultivation. Arriving at the entrance of Lu Yi's cave mansion, Lu Yi was somewhat surprised to find that little star was once again enveloped in starlight, floating beside the trunk of the heavenly star tree, seemingly undergoing another transformation. Over the years, Lu Yi hadn't paid much attention to it, just occasionally playing with it when he had free time. Most of the time, it was his junior sisters who accompanied the little creature in its cultivation and play. Unexpectedly, in such a short period of time, Little Star's cultivation base had already reached the heavenly immortal 8th layer. This rate of cultivation, it was almost on par with his own junior sisters. After all, it was because of the dual cultivation technique from the Tao Yin Yang immortal scripture that his junior sisters cultivated so swiftly. One can only say that it's deserving of being a starlight deer. The bloodline of an immortal beast is truly formidable. After this transformation, it's likely to reach the heavenly immortal peak. Lu Yi didn't pay further attention and entered the cave mansion. Liu Ningxuang and the 4 women as well as the Ling Luo Peak Master naturally treated the place as their own home and walked in. Meanwhile, the Red Princess lowered her head, following behind with a touch of nervousness. In her homeland, her status was noble, but ever since those damnable pirates captured her to be a slave, the Red Princess understood that in front of absolute power, so-called status meant nothing. Moreover, originally at home, she was unaware that there were so many powerful beings among the stars. Yet during her time as a slave, she had communicated with the other immortal-level slaves, and coupled with listening to the pirates' conversations, she had come to roughly understand this universe. She naturally also realized that on such an immortal star, the master who received so much respect from many powerful immortals had a status even higher than hers. The Red Princess thus held Lu Yi in high esteem, and was even deeply grateful. If it hadn't been for the master defeating those star sky pirates, she feared it wouldn't have been long before she was sold off, right? Now, the master not only hadn't enslaved them, but had also provided her and her kin with a place to stay. Otherwise, at a location countless star domains away from her home, she and her kin would have no idea where to go or what to do. It's just that she didn't know what the master brought her here to do. Once inside the cave mansion, in the main hall, Lu Yi and Liu Ningxuang sat down, with the Red Princess standing nervously in front of them. Seeing the Red Princess standing nervously, Donggong Mingyue asked with some confusion, "Senior brother, what do you need her for?" Jian Ruyu smirked and poked Lu Yi in the ribs. "Could it be you find the woman attractive and wish to take her into your chambers?" Liu Ningxuang and Yun Dai glanced at Lu Yi with odd expressions on their faces. Honestly, they didn't have that much opposition to the idea. After all, during dual cultivation, they still couldn't last long, and each time it was Lu Yi who had to control himself. Sometimes they did feel a bit guilty about it. However, they definitely couldn't bring themselves to suggest such things. who didn't want their man to like only them. Although they were not the only ones by now, they certainly couldn't be expected to help scout for newcomers, could they? The Ling Luo Peak Master raised an eyebrow and coughed. "Brat, don't tell me you're actually considering that." The Ling Luo Peak Master was a bit anxious on the inside, thinking, this rascal isn't seriously going after someone else, is he? Lu Yi rolled his eyes nonplussed. "What are you all thinking? Your minds are full of naughty thoughts. I look down on you." Liu Ningxuang and the others looked at Lu Yi with disbelief. This guy, he actually has the nerve to criticize them. Perverted junior brother, that's too much. Who is the one always doing those indecent things? Jian Ruyu was rather upset. Yunzai nodded repeatedly. "I think Sister Ruyu is right, Lu Yi is shameless." During their exchange, the Red Princess looked somewhat confused. As they were speaking in Tianming's language, naturally, the Red Princess could not understand. "Cough, it's not what you think. I have something to discuss with her," Lu Yi said, dismissing the misconceptions. Seeing that Lu Yi was about to get down to business, Jian Ruyu and the others stopped their teasing. Lu Yi looked at the somewhat bewildered and nervous Red Princess, smiled lightly and sent a gentle mental suggestion. "What's your name?" Answering the master, "My name is Red Butterfly," she replied. "Red Butterfly, do you want to go home?" Lu Yi asked. Hearing this, Red Butterfly was taken aback and looked at Lu Yi with widened eyes. "Master, can I really go back?" Lu Yi nodded. "Yes, I can send you and your kin home. However, you should think it over carefully. In the universe, there are many pirates like the Star Wind Pirates, and even more powerful beings pose a threat to you." Red Butterfly's expression shifted, revealing a hint of bitterness. The universe is vast and boundless. Even the Yu family couldn't possibly investigate every single planet in the sky, falling star domain. It was too time-consuming and not worth the effort. There are also many planets inhabited by beings that have never been discovered by anyone. Most such planets remain undiscovered due to geographic factors. Some are in relatively vacuumed areas, while others lie far from the major space lanes. Not all heavenly boats possess a great array for spatial traversal. Even those that have such arrays aren't readily operated by most cultivators unless they're as wealthy as the Yu family or Lu Yi. Why would they spend vast resources to activate the array for swift travel? Chapter 654, 310 Strange Bloodline, Transmitting the Immortal Scripture Part 2. Chapter 654-310 Strange Bloodline, Transmitting the Immortal Scripture Part 2. For them, where isn't cultivation still cultivation? Using these resources to cultivate, isn't it fine to just slowly fly over there? It's just that it would take a longer time at most. In the universe, including black holes, neutron stars, supernova explosions, and so on, there are too many celestial disasters. Even for an immortal, if their cultivation base isn't strong enough, they would feel utterly powerless in the face of such disasters. Over time, this has led to the formation of various routes, shuttling through stargates across different star regions. Of course, such routes don't apply to spatial shuttling heavenly boats, which go directly to the destination, not to mention exploring specific locations, a task the cost of which is astronomical. However, this is just the normal situation. There always could be exceptions. Like the planet where Red Butterfly resided, which hadn't experienced any mishaps for billions of years, but this time was discovered by the Star Wind Pirates by a fluke, turning it into a disaster. Red Butterfly also understood this in her heart. Over the years, locked in a cage, she too had learned of this information. Without strength, in this vast universe, you are a disaster waiting to happen. Suddenly, Red Butterfly wondered why her master had asked her that question. She thought of the Star Wind Pirates who had admired the talents of her clan when they saw them, and of the regret expressed by her senior Silver Moon and others while in captivity. She vaguely guessed the reason, but was also feeling a bit apprehensive. Looking at Lu Yi, she spoke. "Master, would you be willing to protect the Red Clan? I am willing to persuade my father to have our entire clan submit to you." Lu Yi raised an eyebrow and chuckled. "Of course I would like to. You are already mine, so naturally your clan falls under my protection. Am I my master's person?" Red Butterfly's originally pale red skin gradually became completely red, exuding wisps of heat. Liu Ningxuang and the others on the side cast a peculiar look at Lu Yi. "You say you don't covet her body." Lu Yi hadn't expected this and felt a bit stunned. After all, having Red Butterfly follow him meant she indeed belonged to him. But not in that sense. Lu Yi thought of something and looking at Red Butterfly said, "What kind of cultivation technique do you practice? Tell me about it." Although Red Butterfly, as the princess of the Red Clan, practiced the clan's primordial technique, which wasn't to be shared with outsiders. Without the slightest hesitation, she promptly described her own cultivation technique. In her heart, her master was such an eminent figure whose cultivation techniques were probably far beyond her imagination. How could he possibly covet the technique of her clan? As Red Butterfly narrated, not only was Lu Yi frowning, but even Liu Ningxuang and the others began to furrow their brows. They looked at Red Butterfly with strange expressions. Naturally, Red Butterfly noticed this and asked with some nervousness, "Master, is there a problem with this technique?" Lu Yi also looked puzzled, nodding his head. "Indeed, there is a problem." Actually, it wasn't just a problem, it was a big problem. Damn, the primordial technique of the Red Clan was extremely basic. It was just slightly more complex than the Qi absorption technique for absorbing spiritual energy. Forget putting it in immortal level forces. Even Tianming from before wouldn't practice such a basic technique, not to mention a golden core cultivator. And yet, by relying on such a primitive technique, Red Butterfly had actually cultivated all the way to the Mahayana realm. One can only imagine how outrageous her talent must be. Even an innate spiritual body might not have such aptitude, and this was coupled with the laws since before. Red Butterfly was clearly a fire elemental immortal body of the Fire Tao. Her talent was no less than the current senior sisters, perhaps even stronger. And even other members of the Red Clan, though they lacked Red Butterfly's talent, had managed to cultivate to the divinity transformation void realm using that primitive technique. It's simply outrageous. Even you, Lingliwell, found it hard to believe. What's with this clan? They all possess such frightening talents. The Ling Luo Peak Master looked at Red Butterfly, unable to comprehend. Even in the Yu family, not everyone possessed such great talents. Even within the Yu family, not many were born with an innate spiritual body, and those born as immortal bodies were even rarer. Lu Yi and the others also found it difficult to understand. Logically, with such talents, they should be similar to high-grade immortal beasts with bloodlines. Such bloodlines, by default, wouldn't have a low starting point. Like Little Star, as a descendant of the Starlight Deer, was born at the Tribulation Immortal level. Under the Heavenly Star Tree, and with the current environment, in just a mere 1,000 years, it's nearly reached Heavenly Immortal perfection. But what about the Red Clan? Despite such high talents, they actually start from such a low point. Seeing Lu Yi point out an issue, Red Butterfly became even more anxious. Her complexion changed. "My lord, will there be any effects on us if we cultivate this technique?" Lu Yi cleared his throat. "Has your clan ever produced an immortal?" Red Butterfly shook her head. "No, according to our memories, the strongest among our people is equivalent to a tribulation crossing practitioner." Lu Yi's mouth twitched. "Your cultivation techniques are too primitive. With such techniques, it's impossible to become immortal. If such techniques could lead to immortality, then there would really be no justice in the world." Of course, Lu Yi was an exception to this. With his foundation, even the most basic Qi absorption technique would allow him to ascend, given enough time. But he wasn't a fool to practice an inferior technique when he had access to better ones. Hearing this, Red Butterfly felt somewhat embarrassed but also found it natural. Indeed, her clan's paramount technique must be considered a low-level technique in the eyes of her master, right? At that moment, Lu Yi's voice rose. "Give me some time, and I'll deduce a fire-based immortal scripture for you. You can cultivate using that technique when it's ready." Red Butterfly was startled, then looked up at Lu Yi with a face full of surprise. "My lord, are you going to impart an immortal law to Red Butterfly?" Lu Yi smiled. "Haven't I said it before? Since you have followed me, I will naturally teach you." Red Butterfly was overwhelmed with gratitude and immediately knelt to the ground. "Thank you, my lord. For your great kindness, Red Butterfly is willing to repay you for a lifetime." Having experienced slavery once, Red Butterfly knew all too well the importance of strength. Even the seniors like Silver Moon thought highly of her talent and were confident that, with powerful techniques, she could become a strong cultivator. In that case, she could protect her homeland and her people. Similarly, she could share her master's burdens. "You cheeky lad, didn't you obtain some immortal scriptures from my family? Don't you have one pertaining to the Fire Tao?" Ling Luo Peak Master sounded somewhat puzzled. Luya was stunned and hesitantly said, "Master, those are the Yu family's techniques after all. Ancestor gave me permission to use them, but I can't just pass them on to others, can I?" Although the Yu family had been extremely kind to him, allowing him to study even their ancestral techniques, he couldn't take this generosity for granted and act unrestrainedly. It was one thing for him to study the techniques, but it wasn't right to pass them casually to others. It would simply be shameless. Hearing this, Ling Luo Peak Master was taken aback, looking at Lu Yi's expression with a hint of helplessness, and then chuckled. "Didn't the ancestor say, you are also a member of the Yu family? Since the ancestor has given you authority, you can handle the techniques as you wish, as long as you don't impart some of the crucial techniques to others. As for immortal scriptures, my family has so many of them." On hearing that, Lu Yi thought of the 300 billion immortal scriptures of the Yu family, and the corner of his mouth twitched violently. Profound foundation indeed fosters fearlessness. Which average immortal-level force would dare to spread their techniques out like that? Lu Yi looked at Ling Luo Peak Master, hesitated for a moment, and then smiled. "All right then, we'll have to speak to the ancestor about it once we're back at the Yu family." "Yes." Thereafter, Lu Yi pointed at Red Butterfly, and a streak of light shot out, merging into Red Butterfly's forehead. Red Butterfly immediately felt a vast amount of information pouring into her mind. Soon she had absorbed all the information, and her heart was filled with immense shock. The technique was like nothing she could have imagined, whether it was the absorption and use of spiritual energy, or the comprehension and understanding of the fire law. It was countless times more powerful than her clan's paramount technique. This, her lord actually gave her such a powerful technique. The voice of Lu Yi echoed, pulling Red Butterfly back from her thoughts. "This is an immortal scripture, adequate for you to cultivate to the heavenly immortal level. Once you've ascended, I will prepare even better techniques for you. There are even better ones." Red Butterfly's mouth hung open, her expression somewhat blank. Quickly coming back to her senses, she was filled with immense gratitude. "Many thanks, my lord. Go ahead, you can pass this technique on to your clanspeople." Lu Yi didn't want to see the Red Clan wasting their talents, as they were all highly gifted. Red Butterfly was even more surprised and delighted. "Thank you, my lord. The Red Clan will never forget your kindness for as long as we live." "Go on," Lu Yi waved his hand. Only then did Red Butterfly leave. Chapter 655-311, The Great Array Enveloping Tiananmen. Chapter 655-311, The Great Array Enveloping Tiananmen. After Red Butterfly left, the Ling Luo Peak Master also departed, as if he had only lingered out of curiosity about what Lu Yi would do to Red Butterfly. Liu Ningxuang and her 3 companions also intended to leave, but since the topic of dual cultivation had already come up, Lu Yi naturally could not let them off easily and gave them a good scolding. Afterward, Lu Yi began his seclusion. He had another task to complete, because the Tao Tide was likely to attract not only the Star Wind Pirates, but others might be en route to Tiananmen as well, just behind the Star Wind Pirates. Worried about the arrival of powerful enemies, he needed to find a way to secure Tiananmen's safety first. That method was naturally to construct an immortal-level array. During these days, Lu Yi's enlightenment in Array Tao had not faltered, and he had also gained a considerable amount of Array Tao enlightenment as a task reward from killing Jiyu demons at Zhenan battlefield. Now, Lu Yi's Array Tao realm was not low. In fact, it even surpassed his own cultivation base. During his time with the Yu family, he had also found some immortal scriptures that touched on the array Immortal, which contained several inheritances of immortal arrays, and they were useful now. So Lu Yi began setting up the array. He took out a large quantity of immortal-level materials, which he had obtained from completing tasks. Aside from using them for practicing artifact refining and alchemy, he still had many left. The highest reward was the profound immortal level, obtained from defeating a group of Star Wind Pirates. The material was called Sky Shining Starstone, which was perfect for Array Tao. When combined with some other Array Tao materials, it was enough for Lu Yi to create quite a formidable great array. Over these days, as Lu Yi's enlightenment in Array Tao deepened continuously, his secret technique, the melding array technique, also greatly improved. Now, Lu Yi was capable of merging true immortal formations and could combine several to form a chain array. Thus, Lu Yi began to delineate the eyes of the great array. Using Sky Shining Starstone as the array eye, supplemented by other immortal level materials. It took him 2 months to complete the delineation of the Great Array. In that time, another group of star sky pirates came to the vicinity of Tiananmen. However, this group of star sky pirates was not as strong as the last group of star wind pirates. The strongest was only at true immortal level. At that time, Wang Jianyuan and others were still distributing the resources left by the star wind pirates. After encountering this group of star sky pirates, they greedily charged towards them, captured all the star sky pirates, and obtained additional resources, which naturally delighted them. Aside from the star sky pirates, there were no other unexpected events. When Lu Yi finished delineating the Great Array, he left the cave mansion and went up to Ling Luo Peak. As a Great Array meant to envelop the entire Tiananmen, the location of the Array Eye was crucial. It required strong support from abundant spiritual energy. Now, the place with the densest spiritual energy in all of Tiananmen was undoubtedly Ling Luo Peak. Lu Yi planned to position the Array Eye at the peak of Ling Luo Peak. When Lu Yi arrived, Yu Yuanwu came out from a nearby house. "Brother-in-law, how come you're here? Are you looking for my second sister?" Yu Yuanwu asked with a chuckle. Lu Yi glanced at him and noticed that his aura had grown stronger than before. Clearly, the recent Tao tide had blessed him greatly, and he was still processing his gains. "I do have something to discuss with Master. Weren't you cultivating? I just arrived. How come you have woken up already?" Seeing that my brother-in-law is here, how could I keep my mind on cultivating? Is it something private you want to discuss with my second sister? Should I give you some space?" Yu Yuanwu pondered something, his face showing a strange expression as he looked at Lu Yi. Lu Yi was exasperated. "That's not necessary." He looked towards the bamboo house and called out, "Master, your disciple requests an audience." No sooner had he spoken than the door of the bamboo house opened, and the Ling Luo Peak master stepped out. "What's the matter?" The thing is, Lu Yi shared his plan with both of them. After all, placing the Array Eye at Ling Luo Peak would affect the local environment significantly, and it required Master's approval. Both the Ling Luo Peak master and Yu Yuanwu seemed a bit taken aback upon hearing Lu Yi's words. "Brother, you plan to set up an array that envelops the whole of Tiananmen. Do you know how powerful such an array has to be?" Yu Yuanwu asked, visibly astounded. Lu Yi, of course, understood that the array that had covered Tiananmen during the Rashomon clan invasion was nearly at the golden immortal level and was extremely powerful. However, Lu Yi didn't need to set up such a powerful array. A slightly weaker one would suffice. He smiled. "The array I plan to create should be able to resist a cultivator at the peak of profound immortal." The immortal level realm is divided into 10 layers. The first 3 layers count as the early phase, 4 to 6 as the mid-phase, 7 to 9 as the late phase, and the 10th layer as the peak. For ordinary cultivators, progressing from the early stage to mid-stage, and from mid to late stage, there are minor bottlenecks. Although not as challenging as a breakthrough in a great realm, they can still hinder some cultivators. Of course, for someone like Lu Yi, even major bottlenecks were almost non-existent due to his deep foundational strength, not to mention minor ones. Peak of profound immortal, Yu Yuanwu was overwhelmed. What did the late-stage profound immortal mean? Even within the Star Realm army, that was a commander-level position, and moreover, among the stronger ones. His brother-in-law, who had only recently advanced to true immortal level, was able to construct an array that could withstand a cultivator at the peak of profound immortal. This, with his incredible cultivation talent, and now an astonishing talent in Array Tao as well, did anyone else even stand a chance? Chapter 656, 311, The Great Array Enveloping Tiananmen 2. Chapter 656-311, The Great Array Enveloping Tiananmen /2. Yu Yuanwu felt that there was simply no justice left in the world. The Ling Luo Peak Master did understand that Lu Yi's talent in Array Tao was extremely powerful, and his realm in the same was also quite high. But when she heard that Lu Yi could even set up a great array capable of withstanding the peak of a heavenly immortal, she too was stunned for a moment. Then she spoke, "So, you want to place the Array Eye at the summit of Ling Luo Peak?" Lu Yi nodded. "Master, what do you think?" The Ling Luo Peak Master shook her head. "I naturally have no objections. What you said is also correct. The noise from your breakthrough was not small. It might attract some people. Even if no one comes, having a great array for protection is also good. This way Tiananmen can be a bit safer too. Placing it at the summit of Ling Luo Peak, I can also help you keep an eye on the array eye. Lu Yi immediately smiled. Thank you, master. Afterward, Lu Yi took out the previously crafted array eye and placed it on an open space not far away. As the array eye settled, boundless immortal spirit Qi surged, interweaving white mysterious array patterns in the sky. The array patterns continually spread, from initially above the white cloud immortal sect to later encompassing all of Qingzhou, the entire eastern domain, and finally, the patterns enveloped the whole of Tiananmen. Above Tiananmen, whether mortals or cultivators, everyone was astonished by the complex and mysterious great array in the sky, but they soon calmed down. Is this an immortal trace? Ever since Lu Immortal ascended, immortal traces frequently appear in Tiananmen. It must be Lu Immortal's doing again, right? For the multitude of cultivators, immortal traces had become commonplace. After all, Lu Yi often preached to all the cultivators in Tiananmen. For both mortals and cultivators, this was considered an immortal trace, and the Tao Tide during Lu Yi's breakthrough previously also brought tremendous benefits to all beings in Tiananmen. Naturally, it was also considered an immortal trace. Immortal traces that used to occur only once in a million years were now frequent occurrences. Even within the fleeting lifetimes of mortals, they could encounter it a few times, and everyone had grown accustomed to it. Only places like the Tei Holy Land, a sacred land of Array Tao, and other cultivators who had some understanding of Array Tao, were internally shaken by the dense and mysterious array patterns in the sky. This is truly array patterns. Such mysterious array patterns, definitely an immortal array. The ancestors in Tei Holy Land who were in seclusion, including Deng Xianxia, were startled and rushed into the sky. Tei Saint's son Lin Jiyu, also in seclusion, exclaimed upon seeing the array patterns in the sky. Such profound array patterns. This must be Brother Lu's work, right? Deng Xianxia and the others nearby nodded in agreement. Apart from Lu Yi, they could not think of anyone else who could do such a thing. Deng Xianxia, recalling the previous encounter with Lu Yi, still found it somewhat unbelievable. I didn't expect that in just 1,000 years, that young cultivator from back then has now reached such heights. The immortals who had met Lu Yi also expressed continuous admiration. Right, what about the ancestor? If the ancestor was here, seeing such a great array would probably be a pleasant surprise for him, right? It must be an invaluable opportunity for him. Lin Jiyu looked around. Deng Xianxia and the others shook their heads. Earlier, there seemed to be some disturbance from beyond the heavens. The ancestor and other immortals left Tiananmen together and haven't returned yet. Perhaps they were delayed by something. Don't think about other things now. Hurry up and comprehend. Even if we can comprehend just a little bit of these array patterns, it will be of infinite benefit to us. Deng Xianxia called out. The others also nodded repeatedly and began to comprehend the array patterns in the sky. Meanwhile, in the starry sky, a group of immortals was still discussing how to divide things up. After all, as Tiananmen continued to improve, a large number of immortals who had left Tiananmen had come back. The remainder either had better developments and would not return to Tiananmen, or had not yet received any news, or maybe had already perished outside. The number of returning immortals was not small, and naturally, disputes over resources still existed. After all, who wouldn't want more resources? Previously, when Lu Yi was here, they naturally did not dare to show off, but now Lu Yi had clearly told them to take the resources here for themselves. They naturally wouldn't be polite and started scrambling over them. Until now, more than 2 months had passed, and there still wasn't a clear outcome. Just then, an immortal from Central State saw the mysterious array patterns that had appeared over Tiananmen in the distance and widened their eyes. My heavens, look at Tiananmen. The quarreling immortals were stunned for a moment, then turned their heads toward the direction of Tiananmen. One by one, their eyes widened. Is that array patterns, covering the entire Tiananmen? Who set up this great array? It's terrifying. After all, Tiananmen is not a small planet. Covering such an area, this great array is obviously extraordinary. It must be Lu Yi, right? Wang Jianyun knew that Lu Yi possessed an extremely powerful array Tao realm. Lu Yi, he has such a strong array Tao cultivation base. Many immortals around him widened their eyes. His cultivation base has become so exaggerated. It's hard to imagine how gifted he is. Even his array Tao realm is so exaggerated. Is this still human? Someone incredulously said. Wait a moment, what is this great array for? It should be to ward off outsiders, right? After all, there are existences like star sky pirates, and they don't care who you are. So once the Great Array is in place, can we still go back? Everyone. They looked at each other in silence. Then Wang Jianyuan cleared his throat and said, "Well, let's take our things, go back first, and then sit down later and discuss how to distribute them." Because Wang Jianyuan had imparted teachings to Lu Yi, these immortals knew somewhat about it, and Lu Yi's attitude towards Wang Jianyuan was different. Moreover, Wang Jianyuan's cultivation base had already reached the true immortal level, so his strength was considered top among all the immortals present. All the immortals present were willing to give him this face. All right, in that case, let's do as Mr. Wang suggests. Since that's the case, let's go back first to avoid being locked outside by Taoist Lu later. We'd really have no face to ask Taoist Lu to open the array for us. Yes. The group took the resources from 2 batches of star sky pirates and returned to Tiananmen. Atop Ling Luo Peak. The array eye was quickly set up. The great array was activated, and Lu Yi nodded in satisfaction as he watched the array pattern slowly disappear into the sky. Good. It seems there are no issues with the array. Yu Yuanwu, standing nearby and watching the gradually disappearing great array, also felt the pressure of the immortal array and started to doubt his life choices. The Ling Luo Peak Master glanced at the array eye and said, "With this great array, unless a golden immortal level powerhouse attacks us, we don't need to worry. But if a golden immortal level powerhouse really intends to target us, the Yu family will not sit idly by." After all, reaching the golden immortal level counts as a powerhouse in the entire sky falling star domain. If such a powerhouse dares to openly oppose the Yu family, especially targeting the direct lineage and outstanding talents like Lu Yi, then the Yu family will definitely retaliate with thunderous means, even crossing space to arrive here as quickly as possible. Lu Yi nodded. "That's good. I've already notified my family. Uncle Tianfeng is on his way, and he will help us send away the cultivators who were drawn here," the Ling Luo Peak Master continued. Only upon hearing this did Lu Yi finally feel relieved. When Yu Tianfeng arrives here to stand guard for a while and the disturbances brought by the Tao tide settle down, he will be able to absorb the chaos divine crystal. Lu Yi had been longing for this for a long time. However, Lu Yi thought about the fact that merely being in the enlightenment state had caused such a commotion before. Now, absorbing the chaos divine crystal would probably not be quiet either. It seems he still needs to deepen his array Tao enlightenment, and will need to set up another great array later to conceal the noise from absorbing the chaos divine crystal. Luckily this time, the task of setting up the defense array in Tiananmen rewarded him with array Tao enlightenment. After absorbing it, his array Tao cultivation base should see no small improvement. Thinking this, Lu Yi bid farewell to the Ling Luo Peak Master and Yu Yuanwu, and returned to his cave mansion to close off and continue improving his array Tao realm. Chapter 657, 312. You have such a big background, why didn't you say so earlier? Chapter 657-312. You have such a big background, why didn't you say so earlier? In the vast emptiness of space, a heavenly boat swiftly crossed the void, arriving at the outskirts of the Tiananmen star system. Inside were several cultivators of different appearances who came from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce, a very famous organization in the Three-Eyed Star region. The leader was a tall, slender youth of the Three-Eyed clan with his hands clasped behind his back, gazing into the distant cosmos, all 3 of his eyes sparkling with a sharp light. He was Nuke, the 5th heir of the Bolo's family, a renowned prodigy in the entire Three-Eyed Star region. At the mere age of 300,000 years, he had already reached the cultivation base of true immortal peak. Even rumors in the Three-Eyed Star region suggested that Nuke might break through his bottleneck within the next 100,000 years and finally become a powerful, profound immortal. If Nuke could indeed achieve this, his position in the line of inheritance might climb even higher. Standing beside Nuke was a tall, old man covered in golden fur, resembling an upright golden ape. This was a member of a very powerful race in the Three-Eyed Star region known as the Golden Ape Clan. The Golden Ape Clan had extremely strong physical talents and had produced several famous practitioners of body cultivation. They were also one of the most formidable allied races of the Three-Eyed Clan. This Golden Ape Clan member was named Yuan Wu and was Nuke's guardian. As one of the powerhouses in the Three-Eyed Star region, the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce naturally provided their heirs with excellent protection. Especially for a genius like Nuke, who yet to reach great success in his cultivation base, would receive a very high level of guardianship. And Yuan Wu was such a guardian, with a cultivation base already at the profound immortal 7th layer in the late stages. He was considered a powerful being across the entire Three-Eyed Star region. After all, in the Three-Eyed Star region, those above the level of Golden Immortal were generally the true controllers of major forces. A profound immortal was sufficient to dominate a territory. Behind the two were other cultivators, some from the human clan, some from the Three-Eyed clan, and others from different races. They were either followers or close guards of Nuke, or they were slaves. Nuke had originally been traveling abroad, seeking opportunities for breakthrough to profound immortal. Sensing the Tao from a distant star domain, he had moved directly towards this direction without a second thought. For this reason, he had even spared no expense in resources to activate a space transmission array just to hurry over. After all, this sense of Tao could be crucial for his breakthrough to profound immortal, making it incredibly important. At this moment, Nuke stood in front of the window, his gaze sweeping across the entire Tiananmen star system, and he said, "That aura should have originated from this region. This aura contains the legendary power of Tao, but what could it be?" This was a question that Nuke had asked many times during this journey. He was seeking answers from Yuan Wu beside him, from others, and also from himself. Yuan Wu, too, was observing the distant planets, his gaze flickering as he responded. Such a strong presence suggests that either a treasure has appeared or a powerful being is making a breakthrough. Nuke exhaled slowly and said, "If a treasure has appeared, it shall be an opportunity for me, Nuke." He clenched his fists, determined that he must seize such an opportunity no matter what. A middle-aged man from the human clan behind him voiced some concern. "Young master, what if it's the aura of a powerful being making a breakthrough?" Another young member of the Three-Eyed clan also expressed worry. "Yes, to stir such vast Tao, such cultivation must be at least that of a golden immortal, perhaps even an immortal monarch. No one would speculate about an immortal venerable. After all, in the vast sky-falling star domain, the number of immortal venerables was very limited, with only the Yu family possessing such strong beings. Such powerful figures were almost exclusively engaged in conflict with Jiu, and were unlikely to appear in such a remote corner. In fact, even immortal monarchs were legendary figures throughout the entire Three-Eyed Star region. If not for the significant commotion this time, which they felt clearly despite the distance of hundreds of light years, they would not even consider the possibility of an immortal monarch. Disturbing such strong beings could spell disaster, and not even the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce might rescue them. Even Yuan Wu looked at Nuke with a hint of concern. Nuke frowned and said, "Regardless of what happens, I cannot give up this opportunity." Hearing this, the others fell silent, ceasing to speak further. After all, Nuke was their leader, and they prioritized his will above all else. Yuan Wu spoke, "Young master, since this is the case, we must be careful and prudent. Try not to make too much noise to avoid truly startling a powerful being." Nuke did not object and nodded slightly. "Let's enter this star system and investigate the planets," he said. The heavenly boat transformed into streaks of light as it flew into the Tiananmen star system. They soon discovered that many planets in the system seemed to have sustained significant damage. Some of the planets even appeared to have their crusts peeled away, as if a great deal of resources had been removed. This made Nuke and his companions frown, becoming even more cautious and alert. This meant that there were people in this star system. Only where cultivators were present would resources be extracted. The cultivator might well be involved in the Tao tide. It didn't take long for them to sense something was amiss. In such a remote area, why is the spiritual energy so dense? This doesn't seem quite right, Nuke said with a frown, perplexed. It wasn't just Nuke who felt this way. All of the cultivators sensed it too. Yuan Wu said, "Even the vacuum of space has such dense spiritual energy. There must be an immortal star within this star system, perhaps of a very high level." This was also the guess of Nuke and the others. Chapter 658, 312. You have such a big background, why didn't you say so earlier, too? Chapter 658-312. You have such a big background, why didn't you say so earlier, /2? How can this be possible? How can there be an immortal star in such a remote area? and looking at the concentration of spiritual energy, I'm afraid it's not worse than the main star of the Bolos family. Nuke frowned. This means there might be very powerful cultivators here. Young master, do you think we should continue to explore? Nuke hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth. Continue. The others exchanged glances in silence and continued to pilot the heavenly boat, starting their investigation. Before long, they drew close to Tiananmen. Upon seeing the enormous Tiananmen star, Nuke's pupils contracted. Like Yuan Wu and the others, he tensely watched the gigantic planet. This is definitely an immortal star, and it's of a not-so-low level. Yuan Wu's golden fur bristled. He could sense that it contained a large amount of immortal spirit qi. What should we do, young master? Shall we go there? Nuke hesitated for a moment. An immortal star with a large amount of immortal spirit qi was definitely the territory of a major power, and there must be strong cultivators within. But since when did such a remote area have such an immortal star? Could it be because of the Tao Tide? Is the treasure on this immortal star, or is there an extremely powerful being within this immortal star? To go or not to go, Nuke was indecisive for a moment. After a short pause, he spoke up. Yuan Wu, send a greeting from outside, inquire about who exactly is inside. After saying this, he added, be respectful. Yuan Wu grinned, all right. He flew out of the heavenly boat and arrived above Tiananmen. Just as he was about to fly down a little, suddenly dense array patterns emerged in the sky above Tiananmen. The array patterns were mysterious and complex, enveloping the entire planet. Yuan Wu felt an extremely dangerous aura emanating from the array patterns. His fur stood on end as he quickly retreated at high speed. Planet Defense Array. Nuke and the others inside the heavenly boat naturally saw this scene as well, and their pupils constricted. Even Yuan Wu, a late-stage profound immortal cultivator, was repelled by the array. Its power was clearly extraordinary. Indeed, there was an extremely powerful force on this planet. Leng Luo Peak. Lu Yu was sensing the way of arrays when he suddenly felt the great array of Tiananmen activated. He raised an eyebrow and disappeared from where he was, arriving above Ling Luo Peak. Looking at the dense array patterns, Lu Yi tugged at the corner of his mouth. So visitors have come again. He wondered who it could be this time. Not long after Lu Yi emerged, Liu Ningxuang, the four others, the Ling Luo Peak Master, Yu Yuanwu, the Silver Giant Wolf Silver Moon, and other immortal-level powerhouses also appeared in the sky. My lord, Silver Moon and the others greeted respectfully. No need for formalities. Lu Yi shook his head, looking towards the sky. Let's go up and take a look. The group turned into streaks of light, flying toward the sky. Soon they reached the edge of the array patterns. Lu Yi saw a golden-furred monkey floating outside the array, and further away, there was a heavenly boat as well. The heavenly boat was lavishly designed, appearing to be very valuable. At this moment, Wang Jianyuan and others also flew out from various regions of Qingzhou, joining Lu Yi and the others. Upon seeing the heavenly boat, Wei Kang's eyes widened in surprise. That is, the heavenly boat of the Bolos Chamber of Commerce. This model, it must be someone high-ranking from the Bolos Chamber of Commerce that has come. The other cultivators also recognized this heavenly boat. This, it seems to be the heavenly boat of the Bolos Chamber of Commerce's fifth heir, Nuke. He has actually come here. What kind of force is the Bolos Chamber of Commerce? Who is Nuke? Lu Yi was somewhat puzzled. The Bolos Chamber of Commerce is one of the top forces in the Three-Eyed Star region, mainly dealing in various cultivator supplies. Both their strength and financial power are quite extraordinary, and Nuke is a prodigy of the Bolos Chamber of Commerce, of course. In the presence of Lu Yi, he would probably be considered just an ordinary person. Bu Yunjian remembered the achievements of the person before him and twitched his mouth as he spoke. The others nodded in agreement. Nuke is quite famous in the entire Three-Eyed Star region. Cultivators who have mingled in the Three-Eyed Star region have more or less heard this name. However, no matter how talented, how could he compare to Lu Yi? Lu Yi slowly realized, so it's a force from the Three-Eyed Star region. Then he wasn't worried anymore. The woman beside him was a direct descendant of the Yu family, the most powerful in the sky-falling star domain, and he himself was urged by the Yu family master and the Yu family ancestor to be a son-in-law. This status, how could it not be higher than that of Nuke? The Ling Luo Peak Master had never heard of the Bolos Chamber of Commerce either. After the introduction, She showed no reaction but merely swept her gaze over and said, "Those are from the Golden Ape clan, profound immortals in the late stages. The question is whether there are any other strong figures on that heavenly boat." The others shook their heads, indicating they weren't sure. When Yuan Wu in the void above saw the cultivators taking to the air from within the array patterns, he immediately cupped his fists and said, "Fellow cultivators, I'm a cultivator from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce of the Three-Eyed Star region, passing through this area. I noticed such a cave heaven-blessed land, and specially came to pay a visit to the cultivators." When Luya heard this, he raised an eyebrow, his face incredulous. "Passing by, my foot one can imagine they were probably attracted by the Tao tide." But with the great array in place, Luya wasn't afraid either. Moreover, his own master had already mentioned that Yu Tianfeng's 6th Legion was already on the way, and should be arriving soon, right? Even if a strong person came to this place, holding out until the arrival of the 6th Legion shouldn't be a problem. Just as Luya was about to speak, he suddenly closed his mouth, glancing at the void not far away, raising an eyebrow. What a coincidence. In his line of sight, he could see the spatial lines twisting and extending, forming a huge void. It was a space traversal great array. From within that void, one after another, the Star Realm Army's heavenly boats flew out. This commotion naturally caught the attention of everyone else. Yuan Wu was the first to become alert, backing away towards the heavenly boat. After all, in this unfamiliar environment, the most important thing for him to do was to protect Nuke. But when he recognized the symbol on the heavenly boat, he froze on the spot, his eyes wide with shock. Inside the heavenly boat, Nuke and a group of cultivators also saw the symbol and widened their eyes in shock. "Star Realm Army," Nuke said in amazement, whispering. "How can the Star Realm Army appear here?" One must understand that the Star Realm Army represents the strongest legion of the Yu family. Almost any single deployment of a legion would be enough to conquer and erase all powers in the Three-Eyed Star region. And now, the Star Realm Army had also appeared in this remote corner. Following that, Nuke realized something. Were they also attracted here by the Tao tide? No one answered Nuke's question. The void opened wide, with a total of 5 heavenly boats emerging. After these heavenly boats flew out of the void, they headed towards Tiananmen. Then they stopped outside of Tiananmen in the vacuum. The next moment, a few figures flew out of the heavenly boats. The leader was Yu Tianfeng, wearing the Star Realm Army military leader's distinctive battle armor, and he was recognized by Nuke and Yuan Wu among others in no time. They stared at Yu Tianfeng in the lead with wide eyes and astonishment, feeling their throats dry. Military leader, is that the Star Realm Army military leader? The military leader has come in person. Because he was so surprised, Nuke's voice trembled slightly. Yu Tianfeng's gaze swept over, giving Yuan Wu a look, then turned his eyes towards the distant heavenly boat. The moment they were swept by his gaze, Yuan Wu felt ice cold, as if the slightest movement would lead to instant death, so he immediately froze in place. And on the heavenly boat, Nuke and the others were also breaking out in cold sweat, not daring to move. Just then, the array patterns enveloping Tiananmen suddenly fluctuated and then disappeared, evidently indicating that the great array was opened. Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master, among others, flew out to meet Yu Tianfeng. Upon seeing Lu Yi and the Ling Luo Peak Master, Yu Tianfeng's originally stern face suddenly showed a gentle smile. "Uncle Tianfeng, Captain Liu Haking, Captain Qi Mingluo, long time no see," Lu Yi greeted with a smile. The Ling Luo Peak Master and the others beside him did likewise. "Year Ling Luo, I haven't arrived too late, have I?" asked Yu Tianfeng with a smile. "Of course not, Uncle Tianfeng has come very early." "So, what's the deal with these people from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce?" As the military leader of the 6th Legion, which included the Three-Eyed Star region under its jurisdiction, Yu Tianfeng had a certain understanding of the top forces of the Three-Eyed Star region. Nuke, Yuan Wu. The people from the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce only felt numbness through their bodies. If only you mentioned your impressive connection sooner, why keep us in the dark? Chapter 659, 313 Absurd Answer. Chapter 659-313 Absurd Answer. Yuan Wu promptly clasped his hands together and performed a respectful bow. "I have seen the military leader. We were just passing by and felt the presence of an immortal star, so we came to pay our visit." While Yuan Wu was speaking, Nuke led the others out. He, too, had a respectful expression on his face as he bowed to Yu Tianfeng. Nuke has seen the military leader. Nuke of the Three-Eyed Star region. I've heard of you, you have decent talent. Yu Tianfeng glanced at Nuke and nodded slightly. Nuke's eyes lit up and he quickly showed a smile. The military leader flatters me. We mean no offense by coming to this immortal star, it was purely coincidental. Yu Tianfeng turned to Lu Yi and asked, Year, have they done anything improper? How do you want to handle this? Nuke and Yuan Wu, along with the others, had their pupils shrink, feeling a tremendous shock in their hearts as they looked over to Lu Yi. To think that the military leader of the Star Realm army would actually consult the opinion of a true immortal. Who on earth is this person? Their nerves suddenly on edge, they looked at Lu Yi, sweat breaking out on their backs. Gauging from the situation, if the true immortal in front of them decided to deal with them, the military leader of the Star Realm army probably wouldn't show any mercy. Even if Nuke himself was the heir to the Bolo's Chamber of Commerce and held a distinguished status in the Three-Eyed Star region, the case would likely be the same. Lu Yi glanced at the tense crowd, raised his eyebrows slightly and said with a smile, They've been quite polite and haven't made any rash moves. Uncle Tianfeng, it's all right. Upon hearing this, Yu Tianfeng nodded slightly. Since you've said so, I won't pursue the matter any further. Nuke and the others instantly relaxed completely, feeling as if they had been spared from a calamity. Nuke was relieved that he had instructed Yuan Wu to be a bit more respectful earlier. Otherwise, the story might have been very different. Uncle Tianfeng, let's go. We can rest at our White Cloud Immortal sect. You must be tired from the long journey, Lu Yi offered. Ha ha ha, the old ancestor himself told me to come over, how could I not? Am I looking to be killed by the old ancestor? Yu Tianfeng said jokingly. He was well aware of how high this young man's status was in the heart of the Yu family ancestor now. The disciples of the Yu family's direct lineage couldn't even compare to him. While Yu Tianfeng spoke jestingly, Nuke and the others nearby were numbed. The Yu family ancestor personally gave instructions. Was it just for a mere true immortal that he sent the military leader of the Star Realm army himself? The Star Realm army is always busy, after all. They have to deal with the GU battlefield, fight against the Heavenly Demon Group, and their area of responsibility is so vast that the number of tasks they need to handle is nearly countless. The military leader is not a person who has much free time, yet here he was, arriving at the earliest opportunity. This true immortal was actually considered so important by an immortal venerable level powerhouse. How could that be? Nuke and his companions were unable to comprehend this. Watching Lu Yi and Yu Tianfeng and the others moving away, Nuke and his group remained in the vacuum of space. With the military leader of the Star Realm army present, they naturally didn't dare act rashly. As they watched the departing figures, Yuan Wu and the others fell silent for a moment. Yuan Wu turned to Nuke, Young Master, what should we do? Nuke, eyes flickering and filled with curiosity, asked, Have any of you ever seen that, Young Master? Nuke thought it over. That man's cultivation base wasn't even as high as his own, likely just entering the realm of a true immortal not long ago. However, he still referred to him as a young master. After all, his status was incredibly noble, someone that even the Yu family ancestor, an immortal venerable level being, would personally take care of, was definitely not someone a fifth heir of a top power in the Three-Eyed Star region could compare to. Yuan Wu and the others exchanged looks and all shook their heads. We have never seen him before. A middle-aged man hesitantly spoke up. Young Master, could that young master be an important person from the Yu family? Perhaps not in the Yu family's star region, but staying here instead. Nuke shook his head. Even if he were an important person from the Yu family, he would not draw such attention from an immortal venerable level powerhouse. That's an immortal venerable. How many talents and powerhouses does the Yu family have? Why would an immortal venerable take such care for just one person like this? Then who is he? The people wondered. Nuke shook his head, and at that moment his body stiffened, and his eyes widened suddenly as if he had thought of something. He mumbled to himself, Taoist energy, could it be? No, it can't be. How is that possible? Young Master, seeing Nuke's ghost-like expression, Yuan Wu and the others grew worried. Nuke, who was exceptionally talented and steady from a young age, now showed an expression they had never seen before on his face. Are you all right, young master? Concerned, Yuan Wu asked. Should we head back? Nuke came back to his senses, grabbing Yuan Wu's arm, all three of his eyes showing an indescribable look, and he said, "Yuan Wu, what do you think is the likelihood that the movement of Taoist energy earlier was caused by that young master?" Hearing this, Yuan Wu didn't hesitate to shake his head. "That's impossible. It cannot be. We felt the Taoist energy from such a great distance. If we were closer, it would have been like a tidal wave. Such a disturbance could not possibly have been caused by a true immortal. At the very least, it would have to be an innate spirit treasure or even something more powerful, or perhaps an immortal monarch or an even stronger being." Nuke's expression was strange as he responded. "Then, if the Taoist energy indeed came from that young master, would the Yu family ancestor take special care of him?" Of course. As he said this, Yuan Wu suddenly paused and his entire being froze.